Hi there. Welcome in. This is the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Jason Ross here. Carmichael Dave is off today. He's back with us tomorrow. Jay Mars is off all week. Good for Jay. And so I look into the other room, refusing to be on camera. Chris Verlaud, is that what you go by?
That's how it's pronounced, correct.
Chris Verlaud. Unofficially, I believe, the first time we've worked together. No?
What do you mean?
Is this the first time we've ever done a show together? Or by first, I mean 7,000. Have you worked with anybody at this station more than me? You think?
I don't think so.
Over the years, because now we've done a couple morning shows
Actually,
before.
do you know who? Probably.
I don't. Maybe. Well, it's got to be close.
I would say probably the longest relationship I've had here is Seth and Kent.
Yeah, but as far as...
Oh, but those don't count.
No, a number of shows.
Number of shows.
Yeah. It'd be close.
It's close.
Yeah. Chris Verlaud is here. Good morning, Chris.
See, what's bad is I start working with you, and then you go to another time slot.
Pretty much. Been mornings, middays, afternoons, nights, in one sense. I mean, say nights, evenings, I guess. Back here in the mornings. Good to be here. We all had a few days off. I mean, who has July 5th off? Do you know anybody else that has July 5th off?
Yeah.
Who?
You.
Yeah, that's right. All of us did here at the station, which was wonderful. It was great to have a 4-day weekend. In Dave's case, a 5-day weekend.
I had a 5-day weekend.
Did you? Oh, you were off Friday. That's right.
I played it smart.
Good for you. You took Friday off.
Who used to do that? Someone here was like so good at mapping it out.
To do that. So you did that. You knew ahead of time. Yeah, as a company, I would hope most people had the 4th off, but not everybody had the 5th off. We had the 5th off, which was great. And so you took Friday, and just that was beautiful. And you didn't have to work the weekend, the fishing shows, did you?
I did not.
Oh, nice. And as you know, I was off, but I was off. Like you did you get my text? What text? Like, oh, you texted me 2 days ago, and I had a list of people that texted me yesterday and the 4th that I didn't even see.
I was like, oh, Jason must be up in a cabin in the woods. Doesn't get reception.
Nope, at my house. Though equivalent, yesterday morning, it was about 2 things happened yesterday for me at the house. One would be this, where it was I'm asleep. I'm a really good sleeper generally, and I hear what sounds like my phone alarm, and I'm like, no, I don't have to get up today. And I had the phone like out on the charger, out of the room. I didn't even want to be bothered if anybody called. And then I hear just like the repetition of the phone alarm. I'm like, it's just permanently set every day of the week. But I turned Monday off. I didn't turn Tuesday off. So I get up, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever, turn the phone off, go back to bed. Then I hear this weird sound about 6 a.m., like really weird. Like you hear one sound, and then it was followed up like a almost like a pulsating, I don't even know how to describe it. And then it happened one more time right after that. And my wife heard it too, and we go, oh, power's out. Someone drove into a power pole like right by our house and knocked out the power.
Your house has the worst luck with power.
Yes. And right away, we're trying to, call and see what's up with our power situation. They said, oh, we should have it up by like 12:30. 12:30? It was like, I don't even think it was 6 in the morning yet. Anyway, most of the morning without power, which on a day off, didn't really matter much. Chris, do you have a good 4th?
I didn't do anything.
I didn't either. This was probably the first year that I could remember where I didn't purposely go and see fireworks. Now, sometimes I've gone to fireworks shows, or you've gone close enough to where you could see fireworks and not have to pay for a show, or drive in any neighborhood in Sacramento for 5 minutes and there's fireworks going on. They were going on by our house. I didn't feel like as much this year. But it doesn't, I don't know what the comparison to as much is. I mean, you stop for 5 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot of fireworks going on. I felt there were too many going on in the 2nd and the 3rd, though.
3rd was the most for my neighborhood.
Because that was Sunday. It makes sense. The 4th, we had a good amount. But
I'm from South Sac, so it's like a war zone.
That's every night.
Like it's one of the, house shaking.
Oh, that much?
Car alarms going off.
Dogs barking or howling or scared.
Yeah.
Or all of the above. And then, of course, yesterday, if you spend any time on social media, you see like all the fireworks things that went wrong. And I'm not talking about the far more serious and, hideous things that happen like in Highland Park. What's that?
One beer, Paul.
Yeah. But I'm talking about, did you see the one where was that family? I don't know what place that was, but they started doing stuff like they were filming from the house, and then the fireworks went off and then started shooting like through the family members. They're getting out. Then it hit something else and just started blowing up everything. Just going, I do like to watch them when someone else uses them. I just have not been. I'm not firework guy. Are you a firework guy?
No. No, like the cool thing has been is like, and the A's have been doing this too and stuff like that, like the drone shows.
Yeah.
I think that's like cooler than fireworks.
Yeah. But like a planned, controlled, at a site to music, that's fine. Where people are destined to go watch. I mean, that's like a planned trip to go watch it.
If I never see a firework again, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah. I went to the best fireworks show I've ever seen would have been the closing ceremonies in LA in '84. Awesome. Just amazing. But I mean, think about it. At that time, I don't know how much it cost, but just thousands, if not $1 million at that time, just put into this is how we're going to end the Olympics. So there's a lot of money behind it, but just these street fireworks or, taking a walk or riding the bike through the neighborhood, you're like, oh man, there's just crap everywhere. Just go, man.
I'll say on my street, they must have done a pretty good job cleaning up because I don't remember like driving past any of that. Or anything
really?
Like that.
Yeah. Or that awkward situation if you are driving at night when people are doing that. Maybe the 4th, you probably have an idea, but the 3rd, you're like, I'm going down a street where there's like 10 houses doing this. Like, I just want to get through. Are you waiting till I drive by to light these, or what are you doing?
You know what the thing I don't get is the people that put up the ladder and they put the fireworks on the ladder and like,
Yes.
oh, you're getting a better view now.
Right. So hopefully everybody had a good 4th, good time off, good time to regroup. I will say this. I know the funny thing about, and Dave, I'm sure will explain this tomorrow when he's back, he hates the hot weather. So Christy, I don't know if you heard, he planned like a coastal getaway. And I'd have to say, in my life in Sacramento, which is now 30 plus years beyond being here, I don't know that we've ever had a better weather 4th of July.
The best.
Ever. And I don't mind the heat. It was great. It was comfortable.
I hate the heat.
And most people do. And I'm not even telling people to enjoy, like, almost to the point where, we spent a lot of time this weekend out. We had family over by the pool. It's like, can it get like a little bit warmer? I mean, we were fine. But you just go, man, it would normally be 10 something or high 90s, maybe even in the 1 teens, which is awful. But then at night, still like, oh man, it's 90. Let's go for a night swim, where it was like, no, it's a little windy. It's cold. Like, let's go back in the house.
I wore pants yesterday.
Did you?
Pants.
You wore pants? I didn't even think you owned pants. You wore pants?
I did.
Yeah. And yesterday, I think, was the warmest day of the whatever days we had off, 4 days, but none of them were.
Night.
What's that?
It was cold last night.
Last night. Something else I did for the first time, I think maybe I've done it one other time, but I think it was a different part. We floated down the river on Friday. A little family float. And literally it's a float. Like, you can paddle and really go. We had oars and paddles, but it was just like, let's get on the river and just, that was really cool. There's a couple of really, really small rapids.
I've got some friends that work for the water department. I would never get in the river.
You don't trust them?
Huh?
Or do they tell you not to get in the river?
They tell me not to get in the river.
Well, I didn't get in the river.
Like,
on the river?
don't breathe river water.
Oh. Well, I did have a little, hitch for a couple days. Wasn't sure what that was, the little glitch I had going on. Really, they would suggest that? They would say stay away?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because of just everything that goes on down there?
It's gross.
Yeah.
They said something of the equivalent of, it's probably cleaner to swim around in a public toilet.
Well, I didn't drink that much of the water. Just filled half of this canteen.
Unfiltered.
Tastes like Sacramento. Whew. Take it all in. We were gone since Friday, and we've got a lot to cover today because the Kings made more news. Kevin Huerter's the newest member of the Sacramento Kings. They've had a couple of I would say other things still on the agenda that we will talk about today. They've played in the California Classic, has come and gone, and all they do is, I mean, come on, we're summer champs. Just keep winning summer championships.
Summer Dynasty.
Yes. And now on their way to Vegas to defend that title. I mean, probably, Chris, we're looking at 3-time champs.
The first ever 3-time champions.
Aren't they the first ever 2-time champion?
They are.
I mean, everyone's looking up at the Kings, understandably. I mean, you guys can play for this other stuff that happens throughout the year that ends in June, but we're about July and August basketball.
Where are the banners?
Good point. Now, how much fun would the rest of the league make of the Kings if we put those up at Golden One?
Well, I mean, you saw what people said about like the guys coming out of the arena saying like 40 wins this season.
Yes.
And like people are just
Guys
like,
were great.
oh, that's not even a winning season.
Everybody would take that.
We know.
Yes. We know. We've
don't
lived
have
it.
to remind us.
Wait, that's not a winning season? Man. That might just get you in the playing game. Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up. Right? Oh, boy. We got a lot to cover. We're going to get into all that, too. And we want to remind you that coming up, we will be out in Vegas. Dave and I and Frankie, Chris Watkins, SacktownSports.com. We got shows next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sacktown Sports 1140's coverage of the 2022 NBA Summer League is brought to you by Power Business Technology. Find them online at powercopiers.com. All right, we are just getting started. The Kings win the California Classic and now are Vegas bound. We got leading off next. All right, cut number one is about the Sacramento Kings, as we're back here on Sacktown Sports 1140. Jason Ross, Christopher Law, J-Mar's off all week. Carmichael Davis back with us tomorrow. And yes, the California Classic has come and gone. The Kings played on the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 5th. And, you know, I'll say this about Summer League, and all kidding aside, and even Vegas coming up, and certainly when the preseason starts. There's a scoreboard, there's a clock. When you play, you try to compete, you try to win. I mean, does it matter in the grand scheme of things? No. What you're looking at, though, in the California Classic, to me, are guys that are going to be, you hope to be, featured pieces at some point for the Sacramento Kings. Now, obviously, when you draft at 4 and you pick a guy like Keegan Murray, that's a person you're keeping constant eyes on. And I would say through 3 games, he looked really good. Effortless, smooth shooting, gets it, knows how to play. And for everybody that's going to say, oh, what's the competition? Sure. What would you like? Would you like him to struggle? You want him to look bad? Want him to look like, I don't know. I'm worried about this 4th pick. He looked like the best player on the floor.
How did Jaden Ivey do in the California Classic?
Good point, Chris. Great point. Hasn't even played yet. Chris and others are calling him a bust, right?
Oh, I'm definitely calling him a bust.
So again, you play, you want to see how they look. That's what I did. A lot of that is watching him, evaluating him. What did he look like? Nimi Keita, watching him get another run at this. Looking like, certainly still like a project, but doesn't mean they signed him to the 2-way deal. He's going to be a piece to this team and has every opportunity to grow and get better. And then Keon Ellis, I would say, would be about the 3rd guy that, Kings also with a 2-way, you would look at to see what kind of future does he have. But I know as we go over later in the show where this roster is now, the few other spots that they have left, and we probably are guilty of saying this a lot, but I feel like the Kings are so much more well-rounded right now, so much deeper based on the trade of getting Herter. We'll get into that. Drafting of Keegan Murray, keeping the pieces that they did have. Even the free agency moves of Malik Monk. I think the Kings have done a good job, and a good job is just that. I mean, now on the other end, when we're looking at, and I've done this and looked at, as much fun as we'll make fun of the draft grades, Chris, there's all the free agency grades, winners and losers, and on more of the winners lists, I see the Kings. It's great. It's awesome. Does it mean they'll win 40, 50, 20? I have no idea at this point. But I think the consensus, or for the large part, people have thought and think that Monty McNair and the Kings have done a good job.
And how about this for a suggestion? How about you always keep the California Classic in Sacramento?
Yeah, that's going to end up in 3 for...
There wasn't even anybody there yesterday.
Yeah, and whatever the reports were that they were saying, well, it's just a scrimmage, so we're not going to have fans.
Yeah,
Wait,
we know it's a scrimmage.
So were the other 2 days. What's going on? What is going on here? Yeah, we'll get into that more. Let's get into cut 2 of leading off. All right, more fallout from college football's ever-changing landscape. I'm glad you're here for this, Chris, too, because I know you are a college football fan, or at least have been. The Big 12 has kind of been, I would say, the forgotten conference, because last week, UCLA and USC, in my mind, it was a stunning move to go to the Big 10, which is 16, of course. Big 10 is 16 teams. Oklahoma and Texas are on their way to the SEC. Sure, makes sense. Now there's reports that the Big 12 is in discussions with potentially landing 4 to 6 teams from the Pac-12.
Which would make them the...
Big... Because they were not... What are they, 8? The Big 12 was... No, I think they added a few more. Because they did get BY... They got... I don't know. I need a map. I need a flow chart. I need something here. I've really, really thought about this, because to me, this is the classic case, and we're going to have a deeper conversation of this, but... You know, the get off my lawn, like back in my day, because part of what bothers me about, I'll speak specifically for UCLA, the team I've been a fan of since I was a kid, moving is I like the rivalries that I've known for the better part of 40 years of UCLA and Oregon, UCLA and, I mean, they still have SC, but UCLA and Stanford, Cal, Arizona, so on and so forth. I'm comfortable enough losing those because I like change. I like to adapt. I think there. Some of this can be for the better. I will quickly get used to UCLA and Michigan.
Yeah, how awesome would that be to see in the Rose Bowl?
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. I loved the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or Pac-8 versus the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl. Now UCLA could be that team playing Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
Actually, that would be fantastic.
But the reality is they're also going to get UCLA Maryland. UCLA Rutgers, UCLA Northwestern. I mean, they're not always playing 16 teams. They got to figure out who's playing who and who's not playing who. And then we're going to get to the other part of the reality.
Who is going to be screwed in the Big Ten with being in the, quote, Western?
Yes. And you know this is going to happen, Chris, because we're going to be we care about the top. So which team is representing these conferences in the Final Four, whatever they've deemed the ultimate championship to be at some point here. But we're going to be going, well, UCLA is 5-7, but they should be bowl eligible because the Big Ten is so good. They had to play Nebraska and Penn State and Wisconsin and Michigan. Like, they're 5-7. They don't need to go to the Weed Eater Bowl. I mean, like,
the Wasabi Bowl.
Yeah, the Cheez-Its Bowl, the Made-Up Bowl, the Cereal Bowl. It's exhausting. It's confusing. I think, though, it has potential to hopefully correct just one of the most corrupt things we have out there. That's my always optimistic view. But what I think college football is trying to do is it's very regionalized. They want to make it national. It's a weird hybrid. I think you need to get everybody to care about every team, but I don't think they will. And it's trying to be like the NFL. When people are, is it getting closer and closer to the NFL? I said, yeah. But I feel like more people care about the majority of the teams in the NFL. You're going to care. If you like the Niners, you care about the Niners. But you know what's going on with Tampa Bay. You know what's going on with the Packers. You know what's going on kind of with other teams. Whereas still, if I love UCLA, do I really care what's happening with Texas Tech?
No.
No. It's not national. It's national if your team is in the hunt and you're worried about that other team that's maybe taking your spot, and that's what's deemed national. But if you're not in the same conference, I don't know. I know why UCLA and USC did it. They're going to make a ton of money, and they're going to be bigger players in the sports landscape, I think, or they just become other feeders in this crowded Big Ten. But just the overall landscape, what's going to happen with these other Pac-12 teams, with this Big 12? Notre Dame, who, like them or not, they have just stayed faithful to this. We're independent. No one's going to get us until they change, but they haven't changed yet. It's just bizarre.
And if you're wondering how the rankings are, because you brought it up, corrupt systems of sports, it's still NCAA third, second, soccer, first, Olympics.
But they're on the list.
They are on the list.
They're at the podium. They don't have their anthem being played.
They're the one of the meme with the guy going crazy with the champagne.
Yes,
and it's in
we're
third
third. Yeah. All right, cut 3.
It's a ground ball to short. Rootsy and Elvis is right there. Feels the hop. Flip to first in time. And the A's have won the series. 2 good ball games in a row against the Blue Jays played by the Oakland A's. And tonight, on this Tuesday, they beat the Jays by the final of 5-3.
Got him swinging. Wynn strikes out to end the ball game. The Diamondbacks trailing going into the 8th inning 2-1. Come back with a 5-run 8th inning. And beat San Francisco by a score of 6-2.
Yeah, differing results there from the local teams. A's win. Giants. Those Giants have really struggled here in the last 2 weeks or so. Are they even 500 now? One above 500. Man, the Giants are 40-39. All of a sudden, 10.5 back of the Dodgers. That was from the Arizona Diamondbacks radio network, and, of course, Ken Korak from the A's radio network. A's have won 2 in a row, but, I mean, they're still the worst record in all of baseball. We'll get into some more of baseball talk, and really, we're basically at the halfway point. Half of the season's been done. Most of the teams have played 81 games, 81 more to go. We'll get into that a little bit later. A lot more on the Sacramento Kings. As we're just getting started here, when we come back, though, a tradition unlike any other. Joey Chestnut did it again. Continues to dominate, and nobody else is even close. We've got that and more coming up.
You know they've been here for a combined 50 years. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right, back here on the morning. Good to be back here on this July 6th. Man, year's flying by. Jason Ross in. No Carmichael Dave today. He's back with us tomorrow.
Somebody's birthday today, isn't it?
Oh, it is somebody's birthday today. Happy birthday, Deuce. That's right. I'm going to send him a text right now. He's probably awake. He's awake early. Send Deuce Mason a happy birthday text. That's right. He is he's getting up there. We'll do celebrity birthdays later.
He's halfway to you, right?
Watch it. Yes, July 6th. Jay Marr's off this week. Christopher Lawden with me today. Dave will be back tomorrow, and we'll all be here Friday as well. And then next week, big week for us, we'll be off to Summer League and checking out the Kings in Las Vegas and see a couple games, have some good shows, hopefully get some good guests out there. We look forward to all of that. Now, one of the things that happens over the 4th, obviously, is the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest, which happens on every July 4th. And Joey Chestnut won again. That's probably not the story, but, you know, in there was a protester that got on there. I don't know if you saw that where he bumps Joey Chestnut.
Was it a protester?
I don't really know. And then he does a quick, choke hold, and then let's go.
1990s action breakneck thing.
Yeah, like turn both ways where you hear the dramatic break in a movie and then they just flop. Well, he did that, and then he just goes right back to eating hot dogs. And, you know, in our sports world, I know we all covet greatness, or when you get somebody that's just so dominant, we can't wait for the next person to take them out. Like, okay, you're great. We get it. We admit it. Now let's find someone that can beat you. This team, this individual, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of you winning. You know, I've never watched a hot dog eating contest. I don't necessarily care about them, but there's some money to be made. There's fame and fortune if you care about all that. It's, I guess, a skill. I can't even imagine the training, and I've seen some of those. There was that 30 for 30 that was on, like, competitive eating.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah, it's just different. I mean, I think about this weekend. We did a lot of barbecuing, and we did all sorts of crab boil. We had all sorts of stuff going on. But, Chris, I think I ate...
Crab boil?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Crab and crawfish boil. We did that for the first time here. We used to do it in New Orleans all the time. But we did one of our own here, which was great. Went down to, well, I say your neck of the woods, but down there past Southside, the Pocket, like...
Oh, okay.
A little further down.
I thought you were going to say, where's your family living?
What, New Orleans?
No. Here in California. What's the town?
Atwater.
Atwater.
No, not that far down.
Atwater.
Yeah. No, down there by...
I'm still mad at them that they beat us in the playoffs.
and got fresh stuff and cooked all that. But we also, on the 4th, cooked brats, hot dogs, and all that. And I think I had a hot dog on the 4th, and I had a leftover one last night. I had two in 3 days. Joey Chestnut on the 4th won his 15th championship, 7th in a row, and ate 15 more than second place.
And he killed somebody.
He broke somebody's neck. So they get 10 minutes. Ate 63 of them. It just sounds gross. But obviously I know that's what they do. They're training for this. How is he so much better than everybody? I guess there was a rookie I read about this that came in 3rd, so maybe this is the person to watch. Does that even remotely sound appealing to you? I'm impressed. I just doesn't sound appealing.
In high school, I had a friend, and he said, he knew what you needed to qualify, and it was 12 hot dogs in 10 minutes. And it's one of those things of just we can do that.
Did you try?
We didn't try.
You think you could do 12 hot dogs in 10 minutes?
Back then, yes.
Now, why do you say back then?
Well, I was just 16, 17.
And you could just keep eating? I mean, yeah. I remember eating 2 dinners. You're just always hungry.
Me and my buddy, we did the most double, triple,
yeah,
quadruple. We did 13 by 13 at In-N-Out.
Did you really? And you ate the whole thing?
Uh-huh.
Oh. But I mean, I think based on even seeing some of that 30 for I think a lot of us confuse, like, I'm hungry, I can eat a ton, with, like, they're doing it. There's, like, different muscles. They're just eating.
Yeah. But, like, me at my best, at my peak eating years of 16, 17 years old, like, thinking, like, I could do 12, and I'm still 50 away from winning.
Right. And it's, I mean, when you really watch the process, I mean, we all, if you eat a hot dog, generally, whatever you put on it, you're just eating a hot dog, and you're not, I mean, they're dipping that thing in water to really get the bread softer and probably easier to consume. And then it's so weird. It's such a weird event. And he has become, I mean, the pinnacle, the name. Like, if someone else starts to get better than him, what do I say it was? His 17th or 15th championship, 7 in a row, beat second place by 15. And I know there's even other things like competitive, all sorts of other foods. It just, I've never gotten the appeal of that, though.
No.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, the person that could challenge him the most isn't there.
Who's that?
Kobayashi. Remember Kobayashi?
Kobayashi.
He was, like, the first name.
And what's funny is Joey Chestnut's he's not a massive man. He's not big. Kobayashi was tiny.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, get some, 350-pound massive man that could just put away all this food. Like, that's not how this is done.
Like, when we first found out about Kobayashi, it was just like, oh, there's a science to this.
Yeah.
You can train your body to do this.
Right. Well, and then you also think about, a lot was made of, Michael Phelps. When here was his, calories consumed in a day, and it was some absurd amount.
Oh, that was insane.
And you just go, wait, he ate all that? But, I mean, obviously he's burning, and you look at him, he's rail thin, completely great shape. You're just talking about he just basically needed that fuel. And I don't know what the next 4 hours are like for Joey Chestnut. Or is he just trained himself so well that's like, I mean, I consumed a lot of hot dogs. Or is he in pain? Is it brutal? Is it just, I want a championship? Or is he used to this now? He's got to be used to it.
I don't think you can.
It doesn't seem like you can. And where people like,
that's too much salt.
I won't eat for 3 days. I'm like, no, you're shrinking your stomach. Like, I think there's, like I said, the training. Does he ever eat a regular meal, or does he eat that way all the time? You know what I mean? Oh, I got a plate of spaghetti. Does he just shovel it down to keep that going, or does he just, I'm going to enjoy the spaghetti?
That's something interesting, because, like, when we had a professional athlete with us all the time, Doug Christie, and just like, but he's not playing basketball
right
to, like, survive. You need to eat to survive.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not saying that. So, like, to just, like, put something that's so natural into a competitive area.
Yeah.
Like, how can you switch it on and off?
That's what I don't understand. And maybe you don't want to switch it on and off. Like, even athletes where they say they shut down, like, oh, it's I'm shutting down. Like, yeah, but didn't you shoot for 3 hours this morning and lift weights? Oh yeah, but that's like an off day. I'm like, wait, you're not at the pool or at the beach or like going to a movie with your feet up? They still do that, but it's a different type of competition that he is just so dominant, and people can mock the greatness, but he's great at it. And it's one of those things too. I always wonder, would someone be great? Like, Chris, were you and I destined to be great at something else that we just never took on? Like, what if you would have been the greatest guitar player or something, that we just never attempted or tried? Maybe there's someone out there that would have been better than Joey Chestnut, but they never knew. They never went down that road. They never even thought of it. They're not even interested. And greatness is in someone else that just never materialized. It's a deep thought.
Deep thoughts with Jason
Yes.
Ross.
But right now, I don't even know. It just doesn't even sound. I don't want to hurry eat, because I still, your point, like, most of us eat food because we like the taste. We enjoy one. We need it to survive. But like, oh, I like that plate of ribs. I enjoy this salad, this pasta, this pie, whatever it might be, and it's not, I need to eat this in 10 minutes and eat 50 of them.
I had a friend whose dream was to do like a pie eating contest, and they did it.
Did that friend used to work here?
Yeah.
Yes. Did they get? What was the end result of that?
They did not like it.
Well, is there more than
I don't
that?
think she finished.
Yeah. And did she get sick?
Probably.
Oh, okay, you don't know that for sure? I honestly wondered if she got sick from that.
I'm guessing so.
Okay. But that has to happen. That has to happen, especially with. So you said to qualify, you have to have 12 hot dogs in 10 minutes?
So that was...
Is there like regional qualifiers or something?
That was something that I was told. Like, I don't know any of the facts or anything like that. We should probably look that up.
Yeah.
Should we do next year
No.
Sacktown Sports qualifying for the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest?
Who would have the best chance of the station staff to do it?
Of the station here. So just Sacktown Sports.
Yeah. So we're talking Dave, me, you, Jay Mars, Jay Johnson, Rami, Nick, our other guys, Frankie and Chris, Emil, Joe. It's kind of our crew.
I would say Frankie.
Oh, okay. Okay. He's young.
Yep.
He's in good shape.
Yeah.
I don't know what is, his eating. I mean, I think we all probably know someone that you go, man, you ate all that, or will come if there's a buffet, like you see them get all the food, or you're at a picnic and you're like, man, that's a plate full of food, and they eat it all. But that's so different than the competitive eating.
Yeah, I think I'm putting my money on Frankie.
Putting your money on Frankie. Okay. Interesting.
You
Anyway,
hear that, Watkins? You gonna let me get away with that?
I think it's impressive. I think it's bizarre. It's a strange competition. But congrats to Joey Chestnut, the phenomenon that is Joey Chestnut. All right, baseball's halfway through. Teams that are spending all the money are winning. Hey, what a coincidence. That doesn't seem to happen in sports, but it is actually happening in baseball. We'll look at baseball at the halfway point as we continue here on KHTK.
stimulating conversation about kitchen gadgets and baseball cards.
I think that's really crazy interesting.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right, a ton of NBA and Kings conversation coming up as the show rolls along. We got a few more segments here before we get to that. We got 3 for Madness coming up next hour as well. Jason Ross, Christopher Laud is in for Jay Mars. Jay is off all week for Jay getting the week off. Dave will be back with us tomorrow. Make sure you check out Cattles and Rami this afternoon here on KHTK and Sacktown Sports 1140. So we make sure you guys check that all out. Appreciate everybody texting in this morning. 916-339-1140. This, not sure why, but I'm disgusted by the hot dog eating contest. I know why. I think it's gross. I do. Let's see what else on our YouTube. And again, we appreciate everybody checking us out this morning on YouTube as well. Let's see. I've done a 20 by 20 with animal fries, backed up the drive-through line as they made the burger. How big was yours, Chris?
13 by 13.
Oof. Let's see. Another one. 63 hot dogs in means 63 hot dogs out. Yeah, at some point. At some point, that's for sure. All right, enough of the hot dog eating contest. I think a few people are also repulsed by that. So, anyway, congrats, I guess, to Joey Chestnut on that amazing feat.
I want to see Kobayashi back.
Have
you looked into that? Like why he's not there? It's kind of shady.
What is going on there?
Because whatever, I think it's like MLE or something. They're like the Competitive Eaters like Association or whatever,
Okay.
and they're head of that. And you have to sign an exclusive contract with them. You can't do other competitions. And I believe they get a 20% cut of what you make outside of them. So it's kind of like it's just like they have like a monopoly on the competitive eating. And that's why Kobayashi isn't there.
I'm going to look up. Do you have a rough idea, Chris, of what a guy like what Joey Chestnut makes?
I'm 6 figures.
Career earnings, let's see. There's a quick story here. I'm going to see if I can find a figure here while I look at this.
$176,000.
Is that what he won?
I don't know.
The lift. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Chestnut's 2022 net worth is estimated to be $2.5 million.
Really?
Let's see. He's won 14 times. The winner pays $10,000 every year. Okay, let's see. Sponsorships. He's reportedly made. Let's see. In 2014 alone, Chestnut reportedly made $230,000. His 14 Nathan hot dog eating contest victories have resulted in a combined $140,000. Okay. He's obviously in other things and endorsements. He's made social media posts endorsing Hooters, Hostess, Coney Island, IPA, and even Pepto-Bismol.
Diarrhea.
Other things. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, okay. He's not getting a ton off the actual content. I mean, if that's the biggest one, the Nathan's one, the most famous one. He's getting $10,000. I mean, he'll take it, but it's obviously on other stuff, if that's really what he's worth. Well, good for him. Good for him. Baseball has reached the halfway point, really, for most teams. If you look at just the Giants and the A's, the Giants, for example, have played 79 games, so not quite there. The A's actually have played, I think, the most games in the majors. They're at 83. They have the worst record in baseball, which we thought might happen. They got that pleasant surprise to begin the year, but they've really kind of reached to what we thought they would be. And they're 28-55, worst record, 26.5 back of the Houston Astros. The Giants, meantime, man, they have lost 12 of their last 15, and they're just one game above 500. And it feels like they were in need of a move, in need of a jolt before, even when things were better. The problem with what the Giants have done here lately, they've lost their last, 6 in a row. Their schedule hasn't been that hard. We thought they could really make up some ground here when they were getting into that run. After they played the Dodgers, remember when they swept L.A.?
Of course.
Yes. Talking about it for decades.
Decades.
They had the Royals, 2 of 3 for them. The Pirates, they took 2 of 3. That was fine. They went to Atlanta, lost 3 of 4. That was a good team that they played. Lost 2 of 3 to the Reds, split the 2 games with the Tigers, got swept by the White Sox, and lost the first 2 to the Diamondbacks, a team they had been owning. So Giants need something to kind of do a redirect and get their season going back in a positive direction because, it looked like it was going to be a tough fight with them and the Dodgers for the top spot, maybe even the Padres. Well, now the Giants are 10.5 back. What they have to worry about is the wild card race. And before, they were just fine. Well, with all this losing here, losing 12 of the last 15, and with that additional wild card spot, the Giants are basically 5 to 6 teams battling for 3 spots. Braves, Padres are in good shape right now for the wild card. Phillies and Cardinals are tied for the 3rd spot. Giants are 2 back. Marlins are 3 back. All this losing has invited the Diamondbacks kind of back in the mix, but really it looks like at the moment 5 teams for 3 spots as we reach the halfway point of the season. What I found to be interesting, though, and it doesn't always work this way, but we just came off an NBA championship in which the Golden State Warriors won the title. They had a great run, had a few breaks, took advantage of the breaks, and played their best basketball, I would say, at the end of the year. And that's what you want. And they were the last one to still be alive. They get a parade. They get another title. We keep talking dynasty, and they just keep moving forward, and they feel great about that. Some media pundits out there called it a checkbook championship because they spent the most money. They're way over the luxury tax, and they're after paying, dollar for dollar. It gets into like triple for dollar based on what they've been having to do. The fact is they still won. Yeah, they spent a lot of money, but it got them a championship, and I bet Joe Lacob and everyone else that writes those checks says it's well worth it when you're the last one and you're a champion. So on the heels of that, we look at the Major League Baseball season. The teams traditionally and still this year that have been spending the most money all have the best records in baseball. The Yankees always spend a lot of money. They've been baseball's best team throughout the year. Haven't been playing as well for about the last 2 to 3 weeks, but still the best record, 58-23. Another team that spends a lot of money is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Here they are at 51-29, best record in the National League. And for baseball, I don't know, for fans out there, you guys listening, if you're not a Dodger or a Yankee fan, I think that would be great if baseball had the Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series. Like they had in, 77, 78, 81. 2 prideful franchises, 2 meccas of, big cities. Baseball's very, very regional. But you've got the Yankees and the Dodgers that I think have fans all over the place. And that would probably be really good for the sport. The other team that's kind of a new team into the mix with their new ownership change under Steve Cohen is the Mets. They've spent a ton of money. They got good news yesterday. Max Scherzer was back. He came in and like he didn't miss a beat. Struck out 11. They still got other pieces still to come. Jacob deGrom to be in the mix. And here they are at 50-31. And they've spent a ton of money. And they've done it over the last couple of years. But they've got a really, really good roster. A really good team. Depth in the pitching staff. A good lineup. Savvy moves on who to pick up and where to place them. And then development of guys like Pete Alonso that obviously got better as a Met over time. Some of the others that were internally there, but adding, Starling Marte this year from the A's. Mark Canha obviously came over. Lindor the season before, the big move. And then just that dominant pitching staff. When everything is right, if they can get in there with their setup, with the right thing, with Scherzer going and Jacob deGrom in the first 2 games of any series, the Mets are going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem for the Dodgers. They're going to be a problem for anybody. For the Yankees if they get in the World Series. Now, an all-New York World Series, it's happened before. I don't know if that's good for baseball. But a New York-LA World Series probably would be. But I don't know where, and Chris, I'll bring you in here because as I would say, you've been here a long time at the station. You were into baseball.
Yes.
You faded completely into baseball. And
out of baseball.
What's that?
Out of baseball.
Are you completely out?
Yeah.
What was it about the Red Sox that they lost you?
See, this is stupid. Because as a soccer fan, they also own Liverpool, which is somewhat of a rivalry with the Red Sox, with Manchester City.
Yeah.
But they basically got rid of Mookie Betts because they couldn't afford him, while at the same time spending all this money on soccer players.
So you don't like the way they're spending their money in their other ventures?
No.
Yeah.
And
not in baseball.
Mookie Betts is a generational player.
Yeah, and they knew it when they did it too.
And they just totally undercut him.
Yeah.
He's a player that you should have 20 years. Thank you. Go to the Hall of Fame.
Yastrzemski, Nomar, Ted Williams, he should be on that list of legendary once-in-a-lifetime Red Sox.
Yeah. We can't afford him.
And now he's going to be known at some point, his career will go long enough that, we all remember him in Boston, but it's going to be more about L.A.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
where his career is defined and remembered, and Hall of Fame stuff. It's a Dodger, and you're like, man, the Red Sox had him. And not just for, they had him in the minor leagues and didn't know. No, they had him, and we saw what he was.
Won an MVP.
And knew
won
that
a
he
World
was
Series.
going to be good. He should be Poppy. He should be Pedro. I know Poppy came from another team, but that lengthy career, Pedro, those kind of, that's what you want when you've got a young stud is, he's ours. Let's pay him, and we'll live with it. And they chose not to.
Yeah.
They're still good. Boston's good, but I don't want to say what would get you back into baseball. Do you even periodically check in? Do you?
Oh, it's got me the only thing in baseball.
Shohei
Ohtani.
So that's your favorite player.
Yes.
And that's awesome. That's what the sport needs more of. There's some actually really good players. There really is, but I don't know. We've talked about the marketing and the branding and all that. I still don't think Shohei gets enough attention.
No.
Not nearly enough as he should. He's a phenomenon. There's nobody else doing that. And it would be different if he was he's an all right pitcher. He can pitch, but he's a hitter. No, he can pitch, and he's a hitter, and he's great at both.
The way it's almost like how he's branded is like Matt Cain. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But Matt Cain wasn't batting all the time and just crushing balls.
Yeah.
Ohtani doesn't hit cheap home runs.
Right.
He crushes the ball.
Yeah. And I don't know if, he's in Southern California. He's in a big market. Oh, he's on the Angels.
But he's the other team.
Yeah, but how? I don't think it should be that way. And I guess it is with baseball, but let's put him on, pick it, Kansas City. He's still phenomenal. He's still a freak. He's still doing something no one else can do. And that should be noticed, highlighted, featured, and just bragged upon. And I just don't think every once in a while, he had 11 Ks after hitting and knocking in 8 RBIs. No one's ever done that. Yeah, no one ever has. But it just doesn't feel like that gets enough attention.
I honestly think it's LA because he's not the biggest star in LA.
LA's amazing right now.
Yeah.
With the amount of, it's a star-driven city. But for the sports teams, you think about football's about as big as it gets, and the quarterback position is really high level. And Matt Stafford won a Super Bowl. I don't even know where he is on the list of celebrities, sports figure celebrities in Los Angeles. Mookie, how high is he up there? He's probably higher than Shohei.
Yeah.
Trout is baseball's best player. Where is he? Then you go to, like we said, football. You've got multiple teams there. NBA, where they've done the much better job of highlighting stars. It's crazy. But we're at the halfway point. The teams that are spending the money are getting the best results. All right. When we come back, we got to get one more segment here, one more thought on college football, because it's crazy what is happening and how college football is changing. But is it for the better, as the Pac-12 could change even more dramatically here very, very soon? We've got that story and more to start the 7 o'clock hour. Hour number 2. Kicking off here, Jason Ross. No Carmichael Davies back with us tomorrow. Jay Mars off all week. Christopher Lott is in with me today. We appreciate all of you checking us out here on Sacktown Sports on our YouTube page. Those of you texting in, thank you so much for listening here as we have hit Wednesday already. And plenty for us to get to. A lot of Kings conversation, like what the Kings have done in this offseason. We're going to get into that coming up here. A lot more in this hour. 3 for Madness just a few moments away, but wanted to kind of give you the latest of what's going on here. It looks like today, or in the coming days, we're going to get more news on this college football landscape. And I don't know, out here, how much college football means to a lot of people. And we have transplants from everywhere. It is life in the South. It has, Chris, what's the biggest college football game you've been to? Like a biggest stadium or kind of biggest game feel that you've ever felt like you've been to?
Notre Dame, Stanford.
That's pretty big. Good rivalry. Good traditional
teams. I liked the old Stanford Stadium.
I did too. It was bigger.
Yeah, like the one is newer and stuff, and it's but it's just like it just had that feel of like almost like that old Coliseum like type of like this is battle type of feeling.
I went to. It was a lot of fun to go to Notre Dame, Stanford at Notre Dame. I went to that.
Yeah, I remember your Periscope.
Yeah. That was a weird moment in my time.
And of course I couldn't have missed it.
Yeah. It was awesome. Awesome experience. And I would say, based on what I've heard, because I haven't been to every stadium back in this, like Notre Dame's got a good tradition, good rivalry. I mean, that's good. But I don't think it's what's like at Oklahoma, Texas, SEC country, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia. Just different. Ole Miss. For good or for bad, but it's like you watch, I watch every week College Game Day, and you see when they're out at these other locations, and just the as someone that's gone to UCLA or USC games, I've been to all the Pac-12 stadiums, I think, except for Utah, and been to games there. They're into it, but it's on a 1 to 10, they're a 6, 5 or 6. It depends on the game. You could have games like if it's UCLA, USC, and you're in certain. I mean, there's sections, of course, out of any game that you're like, "Ooh, this is pretty intense," and just the game is great. But where like families are truly divided and they wait 365 for this game, I mean, it's just different in other parts of the country. And so now, when you've got what many believe to be the best conference in the SEC, adding Oklahoma and Texas, that's just felt like a game changer. The Pac-12's announcement last week, where they found out that UCLA and USC are leaving for the Big Ten. And now that leaves 10 Pac-12 teams, but the Big 12 is out there trying to become relevant again because they feel like they've lost their power players. So people are looking for Oregons and Washingtons and Cal and Stanford. And I don't know what the Pac-12, and there's still that name of the conference, what they're going to do if they don't land in the Big 12, because I don't think, Chris, that they can land another team or teams that makes them. I mean, they've got a nice conference. They really do. But, okay, if they added San Diego State, Fresno State, BYU would have been a good one for them to add, but they've already moved on. Boise, good schools. Nothing wrong with them. But you've lost Los Angeles, which is a big deal for the conference. And I know when the Pac-12 became 12, one of the restrictions from Washington's and Cal's and Stanford's and Oregon's was they always wanted to play one of the LA schools every year, whether they hosted SC or went to UCLA or vice versa. They wanted to play one of them. That's basically what has happened. So they can always say to their recruits, hey, look, we're recruiting a lot of the LA people. We're playing you. We're playing Los Angeles every year in some form.
And those are pretty, like, must-go stadiums as well.
Yeah.
Like, I would say the only ones in the Pac-12.
And here's the other hidden thing, as a diehard supporter of UCLA football, as someone who, as much as when you're a supporter of UCLA football, then it's, I want USC to lose every week. Like, that to me is part of the charm. If you are an Auburn fan, the biggest thing is Auburn to win, and then the next biggest thing, it might even be bigger, is Alabama to lose, or Georgia, or whatever, whoever you hate, whoever the venom is towards. That it gives you as much joy. Like, your weekend can be ruined if your team lost, but at least Alabama lost too, or whatever the case may be. But Chris, the secret here is, like, UCLA and USC are the big names. You know the last time USC won the Pac-12 was?
Oh man, I didn't even thought. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And so it's like, oh, they got these two power programs. And I'm a supporter of one of them. USC won the Pac-12 championship in 2017. So that's not forever ago, but before that was 2008. So they have two in 14 years. UCLA last won the Pac-12 in 1998.
Oh, 98.
1998. If you go since USC's in 2008, Oregon, Stanford, Oregon, Stanford, Washington, USC, Washington, Oregon, Utah this last year.
I was a freshman in high school the last time UCLA.
Yeah.
Actually, no. I was in 8th grade.
Man. And it's amazing how long it's been, how both programs have been good-ish. Well, SC's had a really earlier in the 2000s was amazing. Was maybe the program, and by getting Lincoln Riley, I mean I think there's a lot of hope that they can return to what they were. Honestly, I think one of the benefits that USC had and took advantage of, to their credit, was in being in Southern California for the first 18 years of my life. LA is very much star-driven. We just talked about it with Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and so forth. And those guys aren't even moving the needle as much as they should. But Reggie Bush and Liner, they were rock stars. Like, that was a good football team. Pete Carroll, like, they just made it. They made it fun. They were great. And pro football wasn't being played. Now that you've got the Rams there and the Chargers there, maybe people don't care about the Chargers, I think it's been way more difficult for USC to kind of regain that.
Yeah, well, they were doing, and then the Lakers, like that's when Shaq left.
Mm-hmm. They were down a little bit. Dodgers were, Angels.
They won the World Series, but
people just didn't care enough. So I think it's going to be more difficult. Also, the competition. I mean, the Big Ten's going to be great. I mean, you might get Rutgers and Maryland, which is the random part of that conference. But to me, it's going to be, oh man, this year you got Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Wisconsin, UCLA, that's brutal. That's brutal. And you might be a good football team and you go 6-6 and you get to some bowl, but it's like you lost all these close games. But it's just the overall landscape. And I'm trying to figure out, besides nobody liking change, do you think there's any chance that this turns out to be a good thing for college sports?
No. And the move that, UCLA and USC, them moving, is it about football?
No, it's 100% about money.
Yeah.
UCLA did it. I mean, I saw some numbers on UCLA, how much money they'd been losing, the football program. I mean, look, my dad, this is what got us started, season ticket holders since before I was born. And I saw games this last year. I'm like, man, there's like 40,000 at the Rose Bowl. No, that sounds like 40. No, it seats 90.
There it's empty.
It looks awful. And it used to seat 100. Like they dropped that down. And then some games, 40 might have been generous. I'm like, how are there 32,000 people at a game here? And SE wasn't filled. And yeah, the first time if they're hosting Michigan, but there's going to be a lot of Michigan people. I remember going to Rose Bowls when I was a kid. One of my highlights, I loved it. Nothing better than seeing UCLA play Iowa and Wisconsin and the different teams they played in Illinois and a couple of those Rose Bowls in the 80s. And then I remember going to the one, I think it was whatever year that was, we said 98, and they were hosting Wisconsin. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait. I remember driving down into the Rose Bowl and seeing a bunch of red. I'm like, yeah, but wait till I get in the stadium. Oh my gosh, it was 90% red. I went, no, what happened here? Well, it's great weather. Probably the UCLA fans sold their tickets. Wisconsin fans came in, and it was maybe not 90, but probably 70% Wisconsin at UCLA Stadium. And I think that a lot of that will happen in Southern California when Michigan State, Ohio State comes. Those sound great, but you're going to play Purdue. You're going to play Rutgers. You're going to play much like when UCLA plays Oregon State or Arizona State. Not the same as when they play Cal, Stanford, or USC. So they did it for money. And when people talk about how much money they're going to make, and people go, yeah, but there's all those other Olympic sports. Like, what are they going to do for, volleyball and all? They'll travel. I mean, they're going to have to. That's what they'll have to do. The travel expenses will be a lot, but this is going to be done on the television deal that they're going to make. And so, can the Big 12 draw enough of these other teams to make a third super conference? Will Notre Dame fall into any of these? ultimately, can we get a better championship? I mean, that's, I think, what we all want, but will we get there?
One of the rumors I saw was Notre Dame and Ohio State joining the Pac-12, which would be like, why would they do that?
Yeah, why would Ohio State leave? And I think SC was behind this more, and UCLA probably felt like we will be dead.
Yeah.
We will. I mean, like, if SC leaves, we have to go. And so,
I mean, if it was a football move,
a football-only conference, that's different.
No, like if UCLA was focused only on football, wouldn't you say like, oh, USC is leaving? This is fantastic.
Yeah, let's go win the Pac-12 more often.
We've got a better chance of winning the Pac-12.
Yeah.
But oh man, that goes our money train.
Right, exactly. And generally, in all sports, when it's done for money, that's where the problems happen. So we'll see where this shakes out. What ultimately happens to the Pac-12? How aggressive will the Big 12 be? Oregon and their supporters, Phil Knight, he wants them to go to the Big 10. I don't know if there's more openings. You're going to make it a 20-team conference? Man. And then here's the NCAA just doing what? Like, it's just, they claim to have all this control, yet they don't have any control. It's just a bizarre setup. All right, we got 3 questions, 3 answers coming up in 90 seconds in 3 for Madness. All right, it is time for 3 for Madness. Christopher Laud asking the questions today, getting the answers. What do you got, Chris?
First question. Let's see how you do with this one.
Okay.
We are halfway through the calendar year. What sporting event or sport are you most looking forward for the back half of 2022?
Yeah, because we've had, our football champion's already been crowned. We just had an NBA champion. There will be a World Series champion. I'm honestly getting really excited for the NBA season for the Sacramento Kings. I guess that's not a specific event, but it's been so depressing. It's been so down, and I don't know if I'm going to be led down that same
We haven't said this before.
proverbial. I'm so excited for this year, but I do like what they've done in their offseason, and I think that's the thing I would say generally most of us here care the most about. I want to see success. I want to have that excitement of a postseason, to have the people that made all these decisions feel rewarded. Us as fans of the team get to enjoy meaningful games. We were saying this the other day, Chris. I don't know if the debate is that the most important game that's been played at Golden One might have been the night that the league shut down. That had the feel of it. Like they haven't had important games. They haven't had meaningful games there. Season openers are fun. The home finale's cool, but that's ending the season always for the Kings. There hasn't been a game where it's like, this is a must-win. Can't wait till the fourth quarter, the last 2 minutes, to see how this team responds.
Have you forgotten about the California Classic wins?
No, those will forever be etched
in
memory.
There were beat LA chants at a pre-Summer League game.
These fans are so desperate, and I'm with them. That's for me. Anything that's for you that you can think of for the back half. Like, I enjoy the Masters. That's already happened. I mean, I'm thinking of singular events, and I'm sure there's other better answers.
There's a huge one that you're missing.
Okay, what is it?
World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
And that's dumb. It should be right now, but because...
Oh, that's right. It's not till what, September?
November.
Oh, November.
I want to say there's a game like on Thanksgiving.
That's right. I forgot about the World Cup.
Yeah, of course you did, because it's never in fall. It's in summer, because that's when it's supposed to be.
Right.
But they decided to put it in the Middle East for some reason. Anyway, I'm not caught up on it.
Do you I'm trying to remember. Obviously, I'll get very into. You watch way more soccer than I do. Very much into Team USA. I didn't find myself watching as many other matches, but some. Did you?
They weren't in it.
What?
The World Cup.
No, I mean when the World Cup is on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you watch other countries play a lot? I mean, just like if it's on, I'm watching.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Because like what's great is like once you get a team, then your players are on different teams.
I gotcha.
So you're rooting for those. Like Ukraine was in a playoff, and one of my favorite players is Ukrainian. So I'm watching that, wearing the jersey, getting excited. They lose. Who cares?
How do you do it if you have two? If they're competing against each other?
Then you both win.
Whoever you like better, though.
No, one of your players is going
Well,
on.
yeah, but I mean, who are you rooting for?
I'm not rooting for anyone.
You're rooting for your players.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, World Cup's a good answer as well. All right, question 2.
Jason, after San Francisco got their chance to host the California Classic, can we just agree that Golden One should host all the California Classics?
I saw a lot of this on social media yesterday. I do want to explain just one more time in case anybody hadn't heard it, just the way the premise this was supposed to be. Supposed to be was the Kings, the Warriors, the Lakers, and the Clippers. For whatever reason, I don't remember the original story why the Clippers turned it down that very first year, but Miami jumped in, and they've been here every year, which is great. But the premise was going to be Sacramento hosts, Warriors hosts, LA. I don't know if they got it twice or once because they have the 2 LA teams. They both share, at that time, Staples Center. Now, whatever it is, crypto.com for 10 more minutes. But that's the way it was supposed to be, and it was supposed to rotate every year. It wasn't the Sacramento owned this thing, but the Kings got it a second year, and I think they had it a third year. This is the fourth one, if I'm not mistaken, even with 1 year that didn't happen. Now that this is gone, it's not filled up every time at the Kings games, or at the California Classic, but there's a good attendance. This community seems to love basketball. I will say this hasn't happened yet, and I hope by the next California Classic it does. But the Kings have had lottery picks, and so there's kind of a draw to see it. But imagine if the Kings didn't have a first-round pick or made the playoffs and got 2 rounds in, and they picked, 27th. You're probably still intrigued by that player, but it's not the same as having a lottery pick. Oh, Tyrese Halliburton, who didn't get to play in the California Classic, or Davion Mitchell, or Marvin Bagley, or in this case, Keegan Murray. I want to see these guys play. We got a high-profile pick. There's a lot of excitement around that. But knowing this community, Chris, I still think people would show up, be pretty excited, and watch, especially if the Lakers had a top pick. Or we got to see, last night there's a lot of buzz about Chet Holmgren, how good he looked in his debut for OKC playing in Utah. If we had a number 1 pick here, people are coming to watch, even if it's not on the Kings. Don't you think, in this community?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're weird that way. We like our basketball, and we kind of have supported, even if it's frustration with the Kings. Plus, I will say this, being at the California Classic at Golden One, it does feel like it's a little bit of a different crowd. There's some of the diehards that go to everything for the Kings, but I think some other people are like, I don't really care about that. But that also has opened up doors for others. The tickets are a little more affordable. It's like, I'm bringing my family, and it's summertime.
Literally opening up the doors, because that's one of the cool things about the Golden One Center.
Yeah, and Doco's there's just more going on, and maybe it's a hot day and you get inside and it's
I
warm,
haven't actually
comfortable.
been. Have you been to Chase Center?
I have not yet.
I've heard it's like away from everything.
Away from?
Like, there's nothing around it.
No, isn't the closest thing Oracle Park? Like, it's down there by Giant Stadium too.
But like, it's away from.
It's a few blocks from that too.
So I think, like Doco.
There's other stuff going on.
Everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like you have to make a commitment to go to Chase Center.
Yeah, for sure. All right, question 3.
I know this is your favorite day, Jason. Today is National Fried Chicken Day. Who has the best fried chicken?
You remember when there was it last year about this time when everything was going crazy was it Popeye's chicken sandwich?
It was a couple years ago.
Was it 2 years ago now, or 3 years ago? The chicken sandwich craze has kind of gone. I don't know the last time I ordered. Do you order fried chicken if you go to a restaurant? Like, it feels like you have to go to a Popeye's, a Church's, a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, that's likely what you're getting. But I don't know that I ever gone to a restaurant and ordered fried chicken. It's pretty rare.
Like if there's a group, yeah. If you're ordering for like a group.
Yeah. But
I remember
it's-
I'll never forget this. It was the Tyson Lewis fight.
Okay.
And my uncle gave my cousin $100 and said, "Get as much Popeyes as you can for this."
Okay. I like Popeyes. Popeyes is good.
I would say they're the best.
I enjoy them because I'm thinking about those kind of like a fried chicken place. Like, you know, you might go to I don't know who's got a versatile menu. Like, I don't know if over here BJ's has like you could get pasta to taco. Like, do they have fried chicken? I don't know. But like
Probably.
a place like that, I
wouldn't order it.
Yeah, and it might be good. I don't know. I feel like it's a specialty item, a specialty place. Yeah, I would say Popeyes is pretty good. Popeyes is really good. But I don't know the last time I had fried chicken. It's been a long time.
I think I had it a couple months ago.
Okay. And it's weird as a kid, it was like, oh, I gotta have the drumstick. Nah, now it's like, I like a good chicken sandwich. National Fried Chicken Day.
Do you know why they became popular? I just saw this recently.
Why?
It's because the prices of beef was going up so much.
Yeah.
So like every fast food restaurant was like, okay,
We can make chicken.
how can we get people to not eat beef but still eat our food?
Exactly. They'll eat our fries. They'll drink our drinks. We need to get them here for some other meal. Let's make some more chicken. All right. Let's get into it. Chickens. Let's get into some NBA. There's some curious moves that were happened, including when you trade for an all-star and you aren't sure the team even got better. The curious move about Rudy Gobert in Minnesota. We'll get into that, and then a bunch of Kings coming up. That's all straight ahead here on Sacktown Sports 1140.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Text or call the show at 916-339-1140. On Sacktown Sports 1140.
Another reminder, a couple of shows next week. Really excited about that as we're heading to Las Vegas for the Summer League to watch the Kings, see how they look, have some good guests from down there as Sacktown Sports 1140's coverage of the 2022 NBA Summer League is brought to you by Power Business Technology. Find them online at powercopiers.com. Dave and I will be down there. Frankie, Chris, a few others will be down there for shows Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week.
Going back to back.
Yes, trying to win another title. The Kings just won the California Classic. They won the Summer League title last year. The way Detroit put their roster out there, man, looks like the Pistons want to win that one, but we'll see how many of those guys actually play. And you know what we do when we're talking about the Kings a lot, we just try to find a path. I was bragging earlier about really liking the Sacramento Kings offseason, what they've done, and we'll get into the Kevin Huerter signing or trade basically in our next segment here. And speaking of trades, we got another one that was just curious, but trying to find a path of how do the Kings get into that top 8, top 10, top 6, somewhere in there to be a postseason team. And it's a difficult game, but we all tend to do it and say, well, how are they going to be better than the Suns? If you look at last year's roster, Suns, Grizzlies, Warriors, Mavs, Jazz, Nuggets, T-Wolves, Pelicans, Clippers, Spurs, those are the teams that entered the top 10. The Lakers didn't make it. The Blazers didn't make it, neither did the Thunder and the Rockets, and every team's trying to get better. I think the Spurs amongst the 15 in the West have probably picked the most specific direction to do a reboot and really play for future assets. I think the Jazz are starting that, and the Jazz and Timberwolves were involved in a really, what I think was a bizarre trade. It happened right after our show on Friday, and we hadn't had a chance to discuss this one, but I don't understand entirely this trade, really, from Minnesota's side. And Minnesota's the team that got the All-Star. When you say, here's a general rule of thumb in NBA trades. If you get the better player, more people think you won the trade. It's not foolproof, but generally, in a league that's driven by stars, even if you got one and the other team got 5 players, well, they got 5 for 1. Who got the better player? The better player is likely the one. Well, Rudy Gobert's an all-star. He's a unique all-star. I don't think there's a player quite like him in the league because he's statistically, he's a difference maker on the floor. He really is. He's so good defensively. The problem, and we've seen it. What's that?
On paper.
On paper. No, he really is a good defensive player. He protects the rim, changes shots. He can guard guards, but he does a much better job of protecting the paint. The problem with that, in the way the NBA is played now with space and pace, right, where teams are getting up and down the floor, he can move, but he's not a floor spacer offensively. And what stands out to me is 2 years ago when the Clippers played them. Clippers went and across the board, basically, from guards to centers or whoever was playing 5, about 6'5" to 6'8". Very switchable, could guard everybody, could switch. And logically, you'd say, oh, man, imagine if you put a 6'8" guy on Shaq. Yeah, you're cooked. You go to the other end, and, yeah, you're going to put Shaq in pick and rolls. He's going to have some issues with that. But he's going to make up for it on the other end and just dominate you, as he would say, barbecue chicken, on the other end because you just can't guard him. So that was the problem with Gobert. He's not that kind of offensive player. Yeah, you could throw it into him in the post, and he can, to turn, do a little jump hook, or try to just jump over you and dunk, or lob him at the rim. That's effective. But that's not really the way Utah played. They're going through Conley, or specifically Donovan Mitchell, moving the ball. At that time, 2 years ago, Ingles, Bogdanovich, just other offensive weapons. And Gobert was a complementary piece offensively, though could be a very efficient 8 of 9, end with 20 points, 20 rebounds, 6 blocks, have a total impact on the game. But when you get into a series and you get into a spot where you're trying to find any little nuance to be a difference, that's what teams were honing in on, is his pulling him away from the basket and not being enough of an offensive weapon. So Utah hires a new coach, a guy the Kings were talking to, and Will Hardy. They go with him. Danny Ainge has done this before where he's completely stripped down teams. He makes the first move and trades Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I saw that trade and went, wow, did they get Karl Anthony Towns? Like, I just didn't picture those two guys together. The return was actually a really good haul of just other players, but what the storyline is the 4 future first-round picks. So 4 first-round picks. They got Walker Kessler, Leandro Palermo, Patrick Beverley, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. If you go to Beasley, Vanderbilt, and Beverley, all very important pieces to the Minnesota Timberwolves' effective run last year to 10 games above 500. The 2 years the Timberwolves have made the playoffs in the last 16, they've been as bad, by the way, as the Kings, but 2 trips to the playoffs. Same stretch. They added Jimmy Butler the 1 year and had Tibbs, but Butler, remember, was pushing everybody. He was that dog, as people say. Made the playoffs. Then Jimmy Butler that next year had the game here, remember, at Golden 1, where, boy, he has checked out, and ultimately then he was done and moved, and Tibbs moved on, and the questioning the heart of Wiggins and Towns still happened. Wiggins moves on. They get Russell. You're still wondering if this team's got it. Well, this last year, another full year, some added nice pieces around him. But Beverly's kind of that guy that pushed them along, I think. So now you get Rudy Gobert, who you take his strengths, his skills, his ability to protect the rim, and put him at the 5, and Towns at the 4. You're going to have 2 very good big men. And I will say this, Minnesota is different than just about any team. But in this case, I don't know that they're different is better. I don't understand it. Teams would want Rudy Gobert. Teams would want Karl Anthony Towns. I just don't picture them together. Karl Anthony Towns certainly can play away from the basket. But I also think part of his superpowers is, yeah, he can hit threes. He can hit 5 in a game. But he'll also go down to the block and score on you down there. His ability to score inside, outside, just be an effective overall scorer is a charm and a versatile guy that can go inside and out. I just feel like it becomes a little more crowded with Gobert. They'll become better defensively in some elements. You lost a lot of those other pieces that helped make you that team that was 10 above 500, but you also lost your you're basically saying this is going to be good enough. And the argument for that on the positive side is, hey, just get into the dance, and if you get there, anything can happen. True. But I think a lot of the things that happen with other teams when they've played the Timberwolves will happen again here with Towns and with Gobert. Now, what I do like about it is there'll be nights where one of them's in foul trouble. You got 2 very good centers. I don't see it working to – it could be a playoff team, and that's what they want. But I think everybody that, like the T-Wolves that has now made the playoffs, wants to improve. I just found that one really weird. I think their best player ultimately may be Anthony Edwards, and maybe they move on from Karl Anthony Towns at some point because you have Gobert, or you move Gobert in the future. But, Chris, do you see this as a team like to beat or to watch out for?
No.
Yeah.
Even like those playoff teams, like you're never scared of them.
No. And last year, it ended up being a great series with them and the Grizzlies for some reason.
I mean, like,
it wasn't that good of basketball, though.
You'll always remember Pat Beverley jumping on the scorer's table.
Yes. It was a great moment. Act like you've been there. They haven't. They enjoyed it. I had no problem with that.
Oh, man. If the Kings win a play-in
I
game,
hope they all are on the scoreboard. I hope they go through the concourse.
Yes.
I mean, I might do the same. I'm going to get on the scoreboard.
I mean, I think the last time the Kings had a celebration like that was Tyreek's shot.
Yes. Yeah. And that's an in-game moment like you just don't expect. That's great. But I had no problem with that. I know a lot of people did. It's like, come on. They're fine. It was a really bizarre move to me. And for Utah, I get it. I think now you just watch the Donovan Mitchell part. So that could be a team Kings fans to watch as a team that has been a perennial playoff team, very successful. They've given Hardy a new a 5-year deal. They're changing coaches. It just feels like they're doing the full teardown at some point, especially if they move Mitchell, where the Blazers started down that road last year. But as long as you keep Dame, they feel like they've added quickly, and I think they believe they'll compete this year. I'm not sure that they will, but I think that's what their plan is. Like, hey, we're not going to be out of the playoffs for 2 years. It was just a 1-year deal. I'm not certain of that.
Dame putting a picture of KD on his Instagram.
Well, and that also, speaking of KD, of course, he still has his trade demands. That leaves that door open because you're going, wait, if Rudy Gobert fetched all of that, what will Kevin Durant demand? What kind of offering will the Nets be expecting for a guy like Kevin Durant? So the NBA has done an amazing job of being relevant for almost 12 months. I mean, we just had, and the Warriors won the championship, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had the draft. Free agency is now. It's still going on. There's been trades. There's been movement. Their high-level players are being discussed in being traded or moved or upset. And I would say after Vegas, which ends the 17th, we'll have about a 4 to 5 week quiet time. But that still could be when Durant's moved. I mean, the reality of it is that could happen. But the NBA has done a really good job, Chris, I think, of making it top of mind for NBA fans and really the sporting fans for almost 12 months.
That's the most exciting part of the season.
This time?
Yeah. Unfortunately, as a Kings fan.
Yeah. In the end, though, what the league has got to figure out is, for some, they absolutely love this chaos. But
me,
we haven't had this situation in Sacramento. What if we had Durant, or Fox and Sabonis proved to be this incredible tandem, and the Kings are great, and they're, what did the Nets get to playoffs a couple years, or almost through round 2, or like a really good team, or James Harden and the Houston Rockets run, or like to the conference finals. I want to leave. That would stink. We haven't really been in that, like when the Kings were their best, in that there was thoughts that Weber might, but he was here. He stayed and ultimately was traded. Because that year, going into the 01 season, 01-02, Weber was looked at San Antonio and Indiana. They were really looking at him, but he re-signed in Sacramento. But if he left as our best player at that time that we'd ever seen on a good team, there would have been a lot of Chris Weber venom.
But there was never a, I want to go. I mean,
demand. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But then he ultimately was here, and then he, still to this day,
there was the
speaks
talk
glowingly
of, there's no good restaurants in Sacramento.
Right. And that's like, okay, we could get past that. But he's here, he's playing, and he's putting up 20 and 10, then we're good. We're happy with you. We're all good here. So very, very curious there. That happened on Friday. What also happened on Friday, the last time we were on the air, right after we got off the air, the Kings added Kevin Huerter to the mix. The trade that made them better. Now the Kings have a depth problem. My goodness. We'll get into the addition of Kevin Huerter and what the Kings have done since we last were on the air. We'll do that when we come back.
Got a take? Make sure it's a hot one.
Take a shot right now.
Call or text at 916-339-1140. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sacktown Sports 1140.
Again, Jason Ross in this morning. Carmichael Davis back with us tomorrow. Jason Ross, Christopher Law, Jay Mars is off all week. So we're back here on Sacktown Sports 1140. So we mentioned the Rudy Gobert trade. That happened Friday. All this happened since we've been gone. We were off for several days here. It's been a great time away, but back at it. And the Kings, right after the show, too, made that trade to get Kevin Huerter from the Atlanta Hawks. I was really excited about this trade. I had said on this show and multiple times in the rumors about John Collins, I have not been the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of John Collins. I didn't understand the fit per se. I know the Kings apparently, and David mentioned this many times, that they were still kicking the tires there. And my thought on John Collins, good player. I feel like some of his numbers have gone down. Understandably, though, I think partly because of Trae Young's success and how good he's been. But one, fit, two, I think Collins, I felt like his contract was pretty lofty, but now seeing where I think we have to slide the scale every year, every 2 or 3 years when, there's a lot more $30 million players, and Collins is going to be making 23, then 25, then 26, and then 27. I just feel like he's a good player, but to me, if you add John Collins, you're saying that's the guy. That's it. That's Collins, Sabonis, Fox. Like, you're certain that's your future. And does he hurt Keegan Murray a little bit? I didn't quite get it. But then there was talk about, well, maybe Collins and Huerter in some other kind of deal. I'm like, ooh, I like Kevin Huerter. If you could get him, I feel like what he's being paid, what the Kings need, versatility, size, there was just a lot more to like. And then when the deal came down, as reported, that it was going to be Mo Harkless, Justin Holiday, both expirings, and a future first-round pick for Kevin Huerter, I was very, very pleased about that. Now, the other part of some of the contention I saw, most of it was a positive that I read, but, again, you can love it, you can hate it.
Kings?
Yeah.
Being negative?
But you've got to, in fairness, wait to see how he looks as a King. But I like the move in its premise. The 2024 first-round pick is lottery protected. It's got protections even to 2025 and into 2026, and then could still be a second-rounder after that.
Oh, man. You remember the watch for the protected?
Oh, that was still from like J.J. Hickson and Omri Caspi.
And it was just like,
something.
well, the Kings have to be bad because if they aren't, then they're going to lose that pick.
Yeah.
Well, they have to be bad because and I want to say it's the first time I ever remember it getting to the second round.
Yeah, it never happened. And I go, people complain about this for 4 years and it never happened. You complain about something that never happened. In this case, if the Kings have to give up that pick in 2024, it's because we're good.
The idea of it is like it's a later in the round.
They made the playoffs. Oh, you don't have a pick that year. Bummer, but you're a playoff team and likely on the rise. Now, here's what I do like about it. Kevin Huerter, let's just go to the player himself. His contract now, he's signed for this year at $14.5. Very reasonable. Again, I'm saying reasonable for all of us making considerably less than that. $15 million, then $16 million, then $17 million. He's at a good age in his career. He's been a good player. He's been on a playoff team. He's been a starter. He's been a bench player. Age-wise, he is going to turn next month 22. Is that right? 24, excuse me. But he's 6'7". I think he's 2'3". He's a good catch-and-shoot shooter. I know last year I filled in for a handful of games for the G-Man, and the game that was at Golden One Center in early January, Kevin Huerter's the reason they won. The Hawks won. He absolutely annihilated the Kings. I actually should have looked that up. I'm going to look that up right now. I don't remember what his box score was, but he was great that game. He was the difference maker. I remember him making some huge plays late in the game as the reason why they won the game. He was incredible that night. Here it is. So against the Kings on January 5th, Hawks won 108-102 in a game that was back and forth. Wasn't the best played game. I remember that. But Huerter's box score. Yeah. Huerter's box score that night. He came off the bench that night, played 33 minutes, 10 of 18, Went 1 of 5 from 3, 4 of 7 from the free throw line. Had 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, only 1 turnover, 25 points to lead the Hawks in scoring. Fox had 30, Halliburton had 24. But Herter was amazing.
He was a player that we always talk about. Who's the random player that's going to go off in the Kings tonight?
And he had a good season. Like I said, he's been a starter. He's been a bench player. The only reason the Hawks did this, to be honest with you, to me, is they're trying to free up some future cap space. They got DeJounte Murray. They're going to be built around Murray and Young for the couple years here. But Herter...
cash grab?
It might have been a cash grab. Herter is a guy that I don't think they wanted to get rid of. There's some reports that the Hawks were trying to send Bogey back this way. The Kings were more interested in Herter. The Kings' backcourt, I say by and large, the way it's set up right now is a little bit smaller. He's 6'7". I like that. I like his versatility that he can play 2 or 3. I think he can move. He can share the ball. He can defend a little bit. The Kings haven't answered, and I've seen this, the Kings haven't answered their defensive question marks, but I'm going to maintain I think their biggest defensive ally this offseason was Mike Brown. That's where they're going to count on getting their defense from. Obviously, you don't get it by him physically as a coach, but schemes, game plan, demands, playing time. By having the roster that's this deep at the moment where you can argue to, and right now I could ask you guys, who would you start at 2? We asked this question, I think, on Friday. And we said, you could start Terrence Davis. You could start Malik Monk. You could start Davion. You could do a lot of different things. Well, now a lot of people would say you could start Kevin Herter. Yes. So I think Coach Brown's biggest asset now is I'm starting who plays defense. That's who I'm going to play. And if you're not playing enough quality defense and not doing what I'm asking of you and expecting of you, my biggest weapon is the bench over here. And that's the way he should play it. And that's the way I think he will play it. And he also, hopefully, will be able to get the most out of these guys. Because I think universally, we've all said they've been bad defensively. We've seen it with our eyes. We know they've been bad. But could they have been better? Could they have gotten more out of the guys? And that's on the players and certainly on the coaches, too. So I really like this move, Chris. I just think Kevin Herter is a player... like Holiday, like Harkless, where he's long and athletic, but I think he's younger and has proven to be, at least the last couple of years, been a guy that's been a little more consistent in that.
As a fan of chaos, it would have been hilarious if Bogey came back as DiVincenzo was walking out.
Right. And DiVincenzo, of course, was another guy they made a decision on who, since we talked to, signed with the Warriors at a much cheaper rate. So that was interesting because we wondered if the Kings kind of messed with his potential and earnings by not playing him enough last year. What was the price demand? Maybe his price was too high. It turned out maybe he didn't have quite the market he was hoping for, which honestly surprised me. I like Dante DiVincenzo. I think he could have been here and someone that could have helped the Kings. They opted to not. And now you got to figure out, Fox is getting the minutes, but Mitchell is the most logical backup to Fox. Doesn't mean he can't play 2 as well. But Terrence Davis, you got Herter, you got Malik Monk. They've got better shooting. They did address shooting. They're not perfect. They're not the best shooting team in the league, but they're a better shooting team. They don't have as prolific as a guy as Buddy Hield, but they hopefully have better decision makers, more consistent shooting, at least across the board. And like I said, I would say versatility, length, defense, shooting, in whatever order was priorities for this team. They weren't going to get all of them, but they've done a pretty good job on the shooting department, and I would say they've added more length.
And I really like Davion coming off the bench.
I do too, and I like the edge that he can bring, and I just think the backcourt has some potential. I feel like they're a little light in some sense in that, maybe you play smaller and play 3 guards, maybe Murray, I feel like after watching him for a couple days, feels more like a 4 to me. I know he says he could be a 3, and the league is ever changing, but with they got a couple of exemptions still left that they can use to add. I could still see some maybe more 3-4s being added to this team.
3-4 coming to this team?
Who are you thinking?
Somebody that's already under contract with the Kings?
Yes.
Sasha.
Oh, yeah, could be.
And
Could be.
like the talk of just like, yeah, they're meeting in Vegas, right?
Right, supposedly.
So, and like he's supposed to be legit in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who wouldn't mind that?
Again, I don't want to be.
Some are calling him the Luka Doncic of the EuroLeague.
Oh, wow. That feels a bit.
Could you imagine Luka Doncic on the Kings?
Wish they only had a chance to do that.
It would be huge.
It would be huge. The other things too the Kings have done since we've been gone here, they did ink deals with Keon Ellis on a 2-way deal. Nemi Keita, they signed Murray. They had the California Classic. We're going to talk a little bit more about Keegan Murray and how he looked in those couple games. But I think by and large, the offseason at this point, and I will say this too, the other part, the biggest stunning thing to me about the Sacramento Kings, I think my brother even asked me this. He said, what's your prediction? It was the day before free agency. What do you think is going to happen like by this time tomorrow? I said, the Kings won't. I mean, traditionally, it's about the 4th or 5th is when they get their first sign. Like a lot of the people are gone, and then Kings kind of settle in and get someone they want, but they wait a couple days, and I was wrong on that. They got Malik Monk right away.
That was in
minutes.
Shams drafts. He's ready for that.
Yeah, he had that ready to go. No tampering, by the way. I'm not suggesting the Kings did or the whole league, because those deals worked out really quickly. But then even the trade, I mean, that was I think a really well done trade. Harkless and Holiday were good Kings. There's nothing. I mean, I think Holiday was the right prototype, the right player, a veteran, a good guy, athlete, long arms, versatile wing, but just even from his first game, just did not hit enough shots. He had one game where I think he hit like 6 or 7 threes. It was like, okay, but you can't do that once. I mean, I would have rather had a consistent 3 made threes a game than one game with 6 and more games with 0.
Didn't he have like a run of not making any?
Yeah, and he's better than that. He just his couple of weeks here, it just didn't materialize. And so moving him, the Hawks looking to free up some money in the future. And the Hawks are trying to trim down their depth to more quality players, and that's why they think they got DeJounte Murray. But we don't really care about the Hawks. We're more about the Kings here, and I really, really like the addition of Kevin Huerter. All right, we got more to get to here, including a look at the lottery pick. Keegan Murray's played a couple of games in the Classic. Give you our first impressions of what he looks like and what he can be for this team. We'll do that as we start the 8 o'clock hour next. And here we go, starting our third and final hour of the show. Good to be back in studio after a couple of days off. Jason Ross here with Christopher Laud as Jay Marr's off all week. Carmichael Dave's off today. He's back tomorrow. We're back shows tomorrow and Friday before we head to Vegas next week for the NBA Summer League. Again, our 3 shows in the morning will be there on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. We'll have a bunch of coverage and everything you could check out at Sacktown Sports. On our website, on socials, all the different platforms, and Sacktown Sports 1140's coverage of the 2022 NBA Summer League is brought to you by Power Business Technology. Find them online at powercopiers.com. So, where's the parade, guys? California Classic. Kings win again. They win all 3 games.
You didn't go?
Oh, it already happened? I thought it was coming up.
Oh, man, Jason.
Don't you usually take a break? I told you I was kind of locked in, away from my phone. Where was it and how was it?
Or
did we not talk about it?
I can't even tell you.
Can't even describe it?
No.
Was it as good as the guys running out of the Chase Center saying, we're going to win 40 games next year?
Oh, so you did see the parade.
That was the parade. Those guys were great. California Classic. Kings did win all 3 games, but to me it was a watching.
Literally shut Chase Center down.
Just shut it down. Nobody even wanted to show up. Everybody was so certain the Kings were going to win yesterday. Nobody showed up. And the Kings did win all 3. Like I said earlier in the show, there's a scoreboard. You play, you compete, you try to win. Does it matter? No, but you enjoy that you won. You're going through competition. Most of the players playing in all of those games will not have significant roles in the NBA next year, but some will, and some could in the future. That's what this is about. It's about development, about being seen, maybe becoming a future player in this league. There's tons of good stories about that. I think the most recent one, and freshest in our minds, last year in Vegas, really playing and trying to find a team, was Gary Payton, the second, right? And then he sticks with the Warriors ultimately, and a key piece in helping them win a championship. I mean, that was a brutal injury he had in the game against Memphis, came back, played in the finals, and now gets paid and goes on to the Portland Trail Blazers. So those are good success stories. The Kings had more opportunity to see Neemias Queta grow. Keon Ellis, they get him to a 2-way deal. But really, the Classic was about watching the number 4 pick overall in Keegan Murray. And since it was the first of the lottery picks to play, he gets the most attention. And Keegan did not disappoint, because we saw what happened last night, or if you didn't, just check out the box score for Chet Holmgren and some of the highlights. Wow, so much skill.
What was weird is he had a record of 3s.
Was it that or blocks?
Blocks and 3s.
Oh, okay.
But it's 4. What?
Yeah.
No one's done that before?
I don't know if it's in this Utah, whatever.
Maybe it's in Utah games.
Yeah, but the 6 blocks, Chet will break that the next game or whatever, and maybe he does it in Vegas. The other thing about Summer League, too, is especially in Vegas, getting used to the 10 fouls. I remember when Whiteside fouled out of a game when I was in Vegas with 10 fouls. I'm like, you get 10 and you fouled out? Come on. But
proud of those units.
Yes, every single one of them. Keegan Murray's stat line through the 3 Summer League games. 59 points, so just under 20 a game. 24 rebounds, so 8 boards a game. 4 steals, 2 blocks, 2 assists. You like the assist number to go up a little bit. Plus minus, for what it's worth, he was plus 37 when he was on the floor. Very efficient, even with a bad shooting game, the middle game. 23 of 45, shot 51%. 44 from 3, 7 of 16, made all his free throws.
But Jason, this is Summer League. They're not even playing against real NBA players.
That's a great point, Chris. I don't think I heard anybody say that or read that or talk about it. Yes, factual. So let's throw the numbers out. That's, to me, doesn't even stand out about him. It's always what I say about Summer League, and certainly even the preseason, and more so about rookies, is how do they look? Does it look like they belong? Yes, it's against what you would say is lesser talent than he's going to play in the NBA. But I feel, and I won't be able to back this up until I actually see it happen, but Keegan Murray, watching him play, has the look to me of a guy that's going to be even better with better players. And the stats may not be that. That's not what I mean. I think Tyrese Halliburton is that. I think Tyrese Halliburton could play with us at the gym, and you go, okay, he's obviously the best player here. But I don't know that we would, let's take better players than that. I've gone too far in this example. But you go, yeah, he's probably the NBA player out there. Not in the gym, like with other But when you see him with other really good players, you're like, man, he just knows where to be. He's in the right spot. His instincts are great. This is Tyrese. But I feel like a lot of the same things are happening with Keegan Murray. And the three-point numbers, I did like that. So that's shooting across the league. That should go all the way across no matter who he's playing with. And maybe his looks are more open with Sabonis or with Fox. They may not be, because once your scouting report gets figured out, people are going to try to take away what you do best. But the fact that he can score in the paint, score with either hand, get up and down the floor, handle the ball. But the three-point shooting, coming off screens, getting his footwork right, his feet set, catch and shoot, effortless. And there was a sequence in the very first game that he played where I want to say he got a quick three on the angle, like just came off a screen, turned, fired, caught it, scored. They got a stop on the other end. Now he was the trailer and got a transition three from about 5 feet beyond the arc, but just smooth and just nothing but net. The very next sequence, there was a really quick closeout by whoever was guarding him, put the ball on the floor, kind of a hard cut through the lane, did a fadeaway jumper, fading from the key to just outside the key, 10, 12, 15 feet, buried it.
Kind of like that Dirk fadeaway.
Yeah, 8 straight points, and it was easy. And, yeah, he wasn't against Draymond Green. He wasn't against Giannis. He wasn't against Kevin Durant. But I think he can do that against those guys. I think he can do that when he's playing with Sabonis, that creates things that Sabonis' game plan 1 or Fox's game plan 1 from the other team. And if he's option 3 or 4 or even 5 on the floor, I really like him. I like what he can bring. To me, the word was effortless. He was just smooth. And experience will help him. Every player goes through that rookie orientation of first the aha moment, like, oh my gosh, I'm guarding Kevin Durant, or I'm going against this guy. He referenced himself as Chris Middleton as someone he's looked at. Well, I'm sure it'll be a weird moment when he's playing against Chris Middleton. But everybody has to go through that. And then year 2 is easier, and year 3 is easier, and you've understood the league and your own game and your body and the tendencies and the rhythm of the league. But our first look at him, when there was people questioning whether he should have gone 4, and you can still question that. They didn't answer that with these 3 games. I'm not trying to say that. But the Kings believe in Keegan Murray. What we've seen, I would actually be more curious to hear a criticism at this point. Besides the one that Chris brought up, which is very obvious, is, it was lesser competition. Sure. But did you see something in his game that gives you pause, that makes you worried? Now, Ivy could be better, other people could be better, but as long as the Kings got a good player, that's the goal. And you want the best player, you're picking 4th. There were 3 taken ahead of you. Those guys, if Keegan Murray's better than them, well, then shame on the teams ahead of the Kings. Now, if there's people better than Keegan Murray behind them, the Kings will get criticized for that. But again, what we've seen, the only offerings we have so far is the 3 games. And I personally like that the middle game, and I would say it was less efficient. It wasn't as productive. He even admitted so, and we see the numbers. But the very next game, he was back to maybe even a better self. He had some great plays yesterday. So he looks the part. What excites me, I think, the most is if we assume, and I'm just going to put Kevin Huerter in as the 2. I'm just, for now. If we assume the opening night starting lineup, which is, several months away, is Fox, Huerter, we'll just say, Keegan Murray, or Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, and Domantas Sabonis. And they're playing the Golden State Warriors. Just pick a team. And Steve Kerr's drawing up game plans defensively. He's most worried, and their defensive coach, whoever it is at that time, maybe Kenny Atkinson or whoever, is going to be most worried about Sabonis and Fox first. Then probably Barnes or Huerter. And Keegan Murray's last on that list. It's a really good spot to be in for a mature rookie, a really good college scorer, when he doesn't have to come in here and dominate, but there could be nights where he leads them in scoring, I think. I think that's very possible. But he also could be the fifth option or the fourth option. You just don't want him to go through a 25-point night, then a 6-point night. If he can live in that neighborhood of consistently scoring in the teens while getting better, being efficient, guarding, and I liked his defense. Again, that's the one I'd like to see him against better competition, guarding. That's a fair, can he handle guarding the Kevin Durant's and the Giannis Antetokounmpos, even though no one else can, but just how does he fare? Does he hold up okay? That's something still to look forward to. But the early returns look good to me. I don't know what you guys thought. I'd be curious on the text line and or other thoughts of what you thought watching him. It looked good. It looked really, really good. So that's my thought on Keegan Murray. And encouraged. Sure, you play the 3 games they won. That's exciting. You'll take that. You want that. That's a fun thing to be a part of. But it's evaluating him. Does he look the part? Does he look like a lottery pick? Does he look like a rookie? Does he look like a guy that belongs in the league? And he looks like a guy that belongs in the league to me. The Kings picked him 4th. He looks like that high of a pick. Chet Holmgren looked great last night too. It'll be great to see in Summer League in Vegas firsthand them play against Jabari Smith and some of the teams they have on their schedule. And Paolo. That's going to be fun. That's a fun evaluation. But Keegan Murray's a good player. Looks good. Let's see. Keegan Murray reminds me of LaMarcus Aldridge. Well, if he's anywhere close to that, let's hope so. LaMarcus Aldridge has had a great career. Multi-time All-Star. Aldridge is bigger, but, kind of played that mid-range to extended out game. Murray's jump shot's nice. And adding Malik Monk, that's one of the reasons why you add him, is his shooting ability. And certainly Kevin Huerter can do that as well. The Kings got better as a shooting team. I don't know that they've addressed, as we said, individually defensively, but I still think that lies in the power of Coach Brown. And some of their length and versatility has been addressed. They need more of all of it, but it sure looks like they're on their way. All right, what's next for the Kings the week ahead? As we said, they're in Vegas now getting ready for that portion of Summer League. And a few more openings are still out there. What else can the Kings do? We'll get into that when we come back.
The 94th most popular celebrity from Carmichael
How popular do you want to be?
meets a Celtics broadcasting legend.
Celtics are going to go for the win. Everybody here at Golden One Center on their feet.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sacktown Sports 1140.
Carmichael Dave back with us tomorrow. Make sure you check out this afternoon starting at 3. Cattles and Rami, as they're back. We've all had a couple of days off, hopefully back, refreshed, and ready to roll here on a short work week for us. We'll all take that. But keeping our eye on what's going on in the NBA at all times. More free agency, still the Kevin Durant watch and Kyrie Irving, what's going to go on with those guys and other free agent signings. But for the Kings the week ahead, they're going to Vegas. They're getting ready for their Summer League schedule. And like I said, we joke about it, but last year was fun. I mean, I remember that very well, kind of really getting into the Summer League, just like I talked about last segment with Keegan Murray, to me last year was watching Davion Mitchell. How does he fit in? And Chris, I know it was only the Summer League, but some of those moments that were on in Vegas where Off Night was earning that nickname and really bothering other rookies, to me that was, again, it's Summer League, but you're watching your draft pick just be great defensively in summer.
Also beat the Eastern Conference Championship Finals in Summer League last year.
Celtics, that's right. That was the team that was in the championship, right? So the Kings won the title.
And Pritchard was coming off of a 90-point game.
That's right. That's right. What was that game he played? That was in some other city, right? Like in Portland or something? Or?
Yeah, it was like a Portland.
Yeah, he didn't do it in actually in the Summer League, but still.
I did way too much research on that.
I know that we had a little piece that we ran last year that might make an appearance later this week, huh?
I think I might be able to dig it up.
Do you still have that?
Oh yeah. You don't throw something like that away.
Not that kind of gem. But I mentioned the Kings, their week ahead. Saturday they get started with Orlando. See, that game's fun right away. I mean, that's Keegan Murray versus Paolo, the very first game, as far as what you're going to want to watch. Sunday the Kings play again. And game 2, I forget, they play Indiana in the second game. So that's Mathurin, a guy that I was really high on the Kings taking at 4. So that's going to be fun to watch. And then the Kings have a couple days off. They will play Chet in Oklahoma City. And I think Chet's going to be one of those guys. The whole thing about him, too, has always been interested. It feels like his negatives are, can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? This is a guy that hasn't been injured. But everybody's already projecting injuries on him. And really, this is why labels are dangerous and bad. Like, well, look at Odin and Sam Bowie and all these other bigs that got hurt. Yeah. Why is he automatically jumped to that? I know he's incredibly thin.
He looks like he doesn't look like a real person. He
doesn't, but then you watch like last night's highlights. I mean, he's blocking on one end, getting the rebound, going behind the back, going coast to coast and dunking. You're like, okay, this guy's going to be a problem. I mean, his skill set's amazing.
And also, Kevin Durant's one of the greatest players ever, but you can compare his body and like, oh man, he's too tall and too lanky and too skinny. He's not going to do much in the NBA.
And Kevin Durant's still really skinny. He's just gotten bigger. Curry's like, you look at Curry as a rookie and now you're like, Curry's still pretty thin, but he's put together now. And you're like, but just a lighter frame. And that's what he's got. You hope his body holds up. There's been plenty of others that have, others that haven't, but that's the other game the Kings are going to have. And then they play Friday and they kind of seed it out to see how you're doing. The Kings will play Phoenix. Now, last year, the Kings ultimately got to that playoff and then won a championship. It's fun. You're out there, you're competing. We had fun with it last year to see the team do that. So they're going to go there and just see what they could do, how much better they can get, and how much more you could get out of a guy like Keegan Murray. Like we mentioned, to me, is Queta. I really like Queta. I think Queta's a guy that is the perfect example of why the G League is in place, right? The Kings took him in the second round. You didn't really feel like there was a permanent spot for him on the roster last year, but you didn't want to lose him and lose his rights. So you have a two-way contract. You give him some G League experience, some opportunities, some reps. And I think that's the one I have never quite asked anybody. Maybe next time we have Monty on or someone else like that in the front office. Really, what is their plan for, and how do they weigh the benefits of being with the team, with the Kings, and getting some practices in versus getting 25, 30, 40 minutes in Stockton and getting the true reps? Like, you can make arguments for both. And sometimes they just lock in and let those guys play a lot of games in a row. But other times, like, oh, they've been called up and they're joined the team in Oklahoma City, but they're on a 3-game trip and they may not even have a practice in there. And all they did was put on a uniform and be on the bench. Now, I know they get workouts and other things, and it's not a completely empty call up, but there's generally no reps in the game. And you wonder what's better for a player's growth. And I could see sitting on the bench, watching film, hearing the coach, hearing other veterans, watching the game can be productive, but there's got to be a fine line of balance there. And then Keon Ellis is another guy the Kings have signed to a two-way contract that, for his sake, he's hoping to be an impact at some way, shape, or form on the team. Those are primarily the guys. I know Coleman's done some nice things, but that's probably the group that you're going to be you're going to be looking at for the Kings. Now, their roster, as we speak now, still has a couple of available opportunities. We know Fox is signed. He's their highest paid player. Then it's Sabonis and Barnes. They're locked in. Herter will slide in under them salary-wise. Rashawn Holmes, who as of now surely seems to be locked in as the backup center, and I still maintain is a really good spot for him if he can fully embrace that. I mean, that's a spot where Rashawn Holmes basically got into the league as a productive backup center. He was kind of the third center when he was first brought here. Didn't take long for him to become the starting center, earned that newer contract. I'm sure wants to start and put up numbers and has shown he can, but Sabonis is better than him. And I think that's more than fair and more than obvious to say, but I hope Holmes will push him, continue to be productive, and if the Kings keep him, get the best out of Rashawn Holmes. Hopefully last year was that just distraction year of other stuff off the court, getting injured a couple of times, health and safety. There's just a bunch of different things that went on with him and the team that hopefully a fresh start will be best for him. Now, the other thing to watch, and I feel like we're through it, but I don't know this to be certain, because I thought their two best assets that they still possibly could trade is Barnes on expiring and still Rashawn Holmes, because what team wouldn't want Rashawn Holmes on it at the contract that he's at, has proven to be a quality starting center and or backup. But I could see this, for the most part, being the team the Kings are going to have going forward. They do have other smaller trade exemptions, and not even the mid-level. I think it's the mid-level still available. That's about it. They got a couple of roster spots that could be added. They got decisions still to make on a guy like Josh Jackson, who's a free agent. They could bring back. I don't know if they will. He had some opportunity to get some run on this team, but didn't play as effectively. And he's kind of been the curious case. Obviously drafted one spot ahead of De'Aaron Fox. I would say his career has been more disappointing than anything, but he hasn't been a total bust. Just hasn't been that guy that a lot of people thought he would be, obviously, when he's drafted that high and has bounced around the league quite a bit. And I was hoping when he was added last year that he would have a little bit more of an impact than he did. Trey Lyles felt like a throw-in at the time, and then by the end of the year was playing a good amount and producing. But I think he's now sliding back into probably what should be more of an appropriate role for him is a deeper bench guy. People get hurt during the season. Maybe someone's out in a spot ahead of him for 2 weeks. You know that you can go to him and get results. That's what's encouraging when you have a roster that has probably the better depth than it's had in recent years, at least as of now, because some of the depth this team has been counting on in past years has honestly been guys that have been more two-way players and G League guys. Daquan Jeffries, Kyle Guy, Justin Jackson, right? Justin Jackson, or Justin James. There's just different guys like that this team has had to count on. Glenn Robinson III, that they just didn't get quite the production, where now you're looking at more proven guys like, hey, man, where are the minutes and how are they going to get the minutes for Terrence Davis, Davion Mitchell, Malik Monk, Herter, and Fox? They all can play. They all probably should play. But splitting that up is going to be quite the chore, I'd say, for Mike Brown. All right, we got more NBA to get to. What is going on with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, two of the biggest fish still out there? There's some talk that the Nets could maybe even run it back and go back with those guys. Can they really do that? We'll get into that and some other NBA news and notes when we come back.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
The only local sports show in the morning.
On Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right, we are back here on Sacktown Sports 1140. We've been checking out.
Getting news about Durant on your phone?
Is that what you got?
Oh, is that? I thought that's what you're.
I was looking up the very latest on Kevin Durant, but I don't have anything new. I was trying to get some intel here, but didn't quite have it. We're also checking out in here. Wimbledon's going on, quarterfinals. Number 2 seed Rafael Nadal is down to American. Is it Chris Fritz? Now I'm questioning I should know my American tennis players.
He looks like a Jake.
Jake? Let's go with Chris. I'm going to go with Chris Fritz. Nick Fritz? What is his name? Tell me if you come up with it first, Chris. Right now, Fritz won the first set 6-3. Nadal's up 4-3 in the second.
Taylor,
of course. Taylor Fritz. And we had talked about, American tennis on the men's side.
San Diego kid.
He's 11th. Good for him. This would be a huge story if he beat Nadal. Again, it's only the second set. He won the first set. Second set is now tied at 4 apiece. So, best of luck to him.
You know who his parents are?
No.
Kathy May and Guy Fritz.
Oh. Should I know them?
I just like the name
Wikipedia.
Guy Fritz.
Guy Fritz. So there you go. Let's see. As far as the NBA goes, we were talking about Kevin Durant going into the break. This has just been a fascinating story to me because, it's obviously one of the greatest players in the league right now, if not the best. And he's such a puzzle to me because I really like Kevin Durant. I just do. I did at
basketball court.
I do, yeah, on the basketball court for sure. But even as, he went to OKC, obviously drafted to Seattle, goes to OKC, and I thought that's where he was going to end up retiring. I really didn't think he was going to leave. Then he goes to the Warriors, gets a bunch of grief for that. And I'm like, and I get he was an easy target, but he's the reason why they won those. He's the biggest reason why, to me, they won those 2 championships.
The bad thing is Kevin Durant makes me dislike Warriors fans so much. Because when KD joined the Warriors, they absolutely trashed Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
As if he had anything to do with KD.
It's because they were KD guys now.
Yeah. And then as soon as he leaves, don't even need KD.
Right.
We won with him. Hey, guess what? We won without him too.
Yeah.
It's like, calm down.
Yeah.
Warriors.
He made them as good of a team as we've seen ever. That was just such a good team. But even while there, even if you take all the criticism and all the things like, you couldn't beat the team and you join him and he didn't seem like that, he's a sellout. I don't know. I just liked him. I like his game. He's got weird quirks to him. There's no doubt about that. Then when he goes to Brooklyn, I'm like, weird move, but okay, he seems committed to this. But the fact that he has not been staying committed and he does get the extension there and he signs there, and it seemingly, I didn't like how he was one of the first to, I think take shots at James Harden when he left. Let that draft, when he ends up on his team in the All-Star, it just was. It was funny. It was bizarre. And then now he wants to leave. He wants to leave again, demanding a trade, and he's picking very specific spots. Obviously, he still wants to be in the championship caliber of a team, and I think any team that he's on, you feel like has a chance. But it's going to be really difficult to get him for certain teams. Phoenix is rumored. Miami's rumored. Everybody should want Kevin Durant. And then his teammate, Kyrie Irving, there's still a lot of talk with him and the Lakers and Westbrook and some sort of swap there that they could possibly get. The latest is, the Nets might be comfortable, and I don't know if this is just their power play of just going back to start the season with him. They don't have to trade him now, which is factually true. But generally, when a superstar comes out with his camp and him saying, and it's very public that they want to trade, you're basically at the point of no return. We're looking at one with the 49ers and Deebo Samuel. That he hasn't been traded, and maybe he won't. You can patch things up. And I don't know how broken it is with him and the Nets management. But by all accounts, it was, hey, Kenny Atkinson's probably not the right coach. They bring in Steve Nash. All right, Steve Nash is there. They didn't get through the first round. What else is it? Is it that they weren't happy with some of these other trades, the extensions? Is it Kyrie? I don't know, and I don't know what's going to make Kevin Durant happy. I don't know that you have to make him happy, but he's a great player. And I don't know, like I said earlier, Chris, when we were talking about if this kind of thing was happening to the Kings. It's not. We're not in that spot. Probably haven't been in that spot. Maybe one of the perks is maybe we'll never be in that spot.
I cannot wait until the Kings have a superstar wanting to leave.
You can. I can.
That's when you've truly arrived on the NBA scene.
But that's torture. That's awful. And more so, I would say the worst of all of this, honestly, was OKC. Because they had him. And now they got a lot of amazing years out of him. But he helped make you a great team, a championship caliber team. They made the finals. They didn't win.
They had a 3-1 lead.
They had a 3-1 lead against the Warriors, the 73-win Warriors, who then lost a 3-1 lead to the Cavs, which was so weird.
That block was a goaltend.
That's what I heard. Had a really good team and had all the money to offer him, and then that would be really difficult. And then to see your play, like, I know Durant came back to OKC and has been back a couple times, but I still maintain he could go back and play for them again and be just fine. Like, do what LeBron did and go back to Cleveland. If he ever brought OKC a championship, then he's a hero forever. But the fact that I bet every team is interested, it's going to take the latest thing I saw was some offer from Phoenix was ridiculous. That was, I want to say it was Bridges, Ayton, maybe some other filler, and like 5 future first-round picks reportedly wasn't enough. He's a little bit older. He's getting paid a ton. He's worth it. He's worth the player. But where I say is he worth it is, will he then get upset with your organization? Will he get upset in Phoenix? Will he get upset in Miami? Will he want to leave Chicago? Will he want to leave Toronto? And then other teams have opinions of their own players. I saw a report today where Toronto is still a team that probably has a lot to offer that could get a guy like Kevin Durant, but they don't want to part with a guy like Scotty Barnes. I'm like, wow, you wouldn't part with Scotty Barnes to get Kevin Durant? I don't think there would be a player that would be off limits. Then the other one that's rumored out there is like, the team that can actually make a really fair and good offer to get Kevin Durant?
Sacramento Kings.
Golden State Warriors. I mean, they really could. They're the team that has the highest payroll, so you got to have money to bring back. Now, they won't have the same kind of draft capital that some of these other teams. I mean, they have it, but maybe that's not the same kind of charm, because if you get Durant back to the Warriors in some way, shape, or form, you're picking 30. That pick's going to be 28th, 29th, or 30th. But, I mean, you move any of those young pieces in Moody, Kuminga, Wiseman. You have Wiggins, future first-round picks. Would that drive people crazy if he went back to the Warriors?
Here's the thing. I've been talking about this with Jay in the afternoon show.
Yeah.
Is it feel like, and this is just looking at how I think KD is thinking, which probably isn't fair, but just like looking on the outside, it feels like Kevin Durant wants that championship that's his.
Right.
It feels like the Warriors, oh yeah, you won it, and you were the MVP, but that's Steph's team, that's Draymond's team, and he kind of like tossed you out. He tore his Achilles because of the talk of, oh man, he's not hurt. He's just doing this because he gave up.
But don't you think it would have felt like his championship if they won one in Brooklyn?
Yeah. So that's why I think he went to Brooklyn as, this is my team.
Yeah.
So now it almost feels like he's looking for, I don't want to be here in Brooklyn because it's just been a dumpster fire, but where can I go where it's going to be my team? Like there was that talk about Portland, of him going to Portland. If they win a championship, that's Dame's championship.
Mm-hmm.
Even if KD was an MVP, KD won all these games, Portland's still Dame's town, no matter how much.
Yeah.
Like, unless he goes there and they just three-peat and he's just, like, out of this world.
Go back
That's
to
the only
OKC.
way. Yeah, so it's
Join
OKC.
Gideon, Chet, give up all those future picks. that OKC has?
I mean, Phoenix, I would say that would be his. Would be Phoenix, even though you've got Devin Booker and you've got Chris Paul.
Yeah, but then also he's so good wherever he goes. You're also stripping that the Warriors make sense. They would keep a bulk of their main core. Like if you gave up Wiseman, Kuminga, Wiggins, I mean you still have the guys he won a title with before.
But then I could see him saying, "I don't want to go there.
Right,
I left there."
Yeah. Whereas if you go to like Miami. They're talking about Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, or Bam out of and like in some way, shape, or form. I don't think Bam can go in it, but some group of that. It's like, well, you're losing a lot of the other important pieces that help make that team great. So I don't know if they can patch it and fix it. It sure seems like it's destined to happen, and that's going to change the landscape too. We're talking about what teams are the Kings better than. Well, if Durant comes to the West, that
just
changes
stay out
things.
of the West, Katie.
If he goes to the East,
I mean, if he goes to the Warriors, I mean.
They've already won it?
Yeah.
They just stay that great?
Yeah, like Kings aren't worrying about passing up the Warriors.
But what if it's not happening, but what if he went to we didn't mention the Kyrie part of this. I mean, there is legitimate talk about him and the Lakers. Now, Kyrie is the one that bothers probably more people, myself included.
I can't believe the NBA there's like teams trying to bail out the Lakers.
Yeah.
For their trash decision.
Right. And if that's literally a Kyrie for Russell Westbrook swap. The only reason the Nets do that is like, okay, we just got to get out of Kyrie. We got to be done with him, and then Westbrook would come off the books. Okay? Like Westbrook and Simmons, and then maybe whatever you get back in Durant. Like, that doesn't feel like a reboot. That feels like just a stopgap until they're ready to go. Man, it's messy. It's messy when you get the talented players like that, but they're worth it if you get them on the court playing 60 to 70 games and getting you to the playoffs. Amazing. We'll keep our eyes and ears on that as well. We have a final segment ahead. When we come back, we got the news to wrap things up. That's coming up. All right, Chris, do you have a what's hot or who's hot and who's not for
I
us?
actually do. Yeah, I do.
All right.
Gonna have to go with the Kings' first-round pick, number 4 overall, Keegan Murray.
Yeah, Keegan.
3 games in the California Classic, 19.7 points, 8 rebounds, 1.3 steals, over 40% from 3.
He's hot.
Not much hotter than that.
Yeah.
What's not?
What's not?
How about the number 5 pick overall? Ivy, 0.0 rebounds, 0 assists.
Come on.
Didn't even play 1 second of the California Classic. So
You're going to go with that?
Kings won the draft.
Clearly.
And nobody can argue.
And case closed. That's where we end it right there. Case closed. Nobody can argue.
Casa Cerrado.
It's official. It's over. The ballots have been checked. No funny business. All legit. Case closed. Update you on the Wimbledon quarterfinal. It is in the second set. Nadal leads Fritz 6-5 after the American won the first set 6-3.
I was trying to remember, like, where did I hear the name Fritz? Where did I hear the name Fritz? I've heard it many times. Then I remembered that was the horse's name in Django Unchained.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
My horse Fritz.
That's a good movie.
Great movie.
That's a very rewatchable movie too. That's on a
it's
lot.
the one. Oh, this scene's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta say for this scene.
Say goodbye, Miss Laura. Goodbye, Miss Laura. Out the room. All right, it's time for some news. All right, time for some news. First off, we didn't get to this earlier in the show when we were talking about baseball. I know this happened. This was one of those things where there was that city council going on in the Oakland area, and it just took forever. I forget what number it was on the agenda. And they're waiting, and they're waiting, and they're waiting. It was hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. Well, they had the basically the city council vote, and it ended up being a no vote. But what the no vote meant, if I have this right, was they're going to keep it off the ballot, which by all accounts is a good thing. If this is just under the city council's vote, which they all allegedly seem to be for the ballpark in Oakland, by everything I read, this was a good note for the Oakland A's.
Was Reggie Miller there to commentate on it?
Was it a home game or a road game? Who had the theater lighting or yeah?
Just trying to put a good face on it.
Yes. I don't know. I know it always gets worse before it gets better. It's been so bad there in Oakland for so long. What I'm worried about, Chris, in the end is I believe they could make it happen. I believe they could get the state. I believe they can do this. I mean, we've seen it happen here. We've seen it happen other places. I'm just worried for A's fans that that's not – you still have John Fisher. I just don't know that he's going to end up – we got a brand new ballpark. It's beautiful. It's going to have all the great stuff you're looking for. Are they going to spend money on players?
No.
I don't think so either. I think they're going to consistently run this way. And they still may compete. That hasn't been a problem for the A's. This year is. But in the past, they know how to still compete even under less restriction or under more restrictions than other teams. It's very admirable and impressive. But now when you've stripped away all your talent, they're having the year they have this year. So again, by all accounts, everything that happened yesterday is a positive for the future of A's and the new stadium in Oakland. But until that's actually happening, we're in wait-and-see mode.
And unfortunately, and it's already kind of happened now, there is a charm of going to an A's game. It used to be like, oh, man, you can take your family to a Major League Baseball game for nothing compared to, like, every place else.
Yeah, you went earlier this year, and you're like, you were surprised at how much more it was.
Yeah, and, like, that was one of the cool things about the A's. Like, listen, you're not going to get all the bells and whistles,
right?
All, like, the
but you'll have a seat. You'll be watching Major League Baseball. They got food. They got drinks.
Yeah, food is reasonable. Yeah. Drinks are reasonable and everything like that.
It always felt like parking was a little high, but other than that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and
But now it's all of it.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And, like, even if you have a new stadium, it's
only
not
going to be more.
Yeah, it's not going to be like that again. It used to, I don't know if there is going to be a time like that in professional sports in America.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing about baseball parks that's, truly, like, they're just different. Everyone's a little bit different. Now, Oakland's definitely different than San Francisco, but, you're still watching the best athletes out there in baseball. And, yeah, it doesn't have everything those other stadiums have. The new one certainly would, but we'll wait and see ultimately what happens there. All right, let's give you some more other news here. This was an odd story I came across. I don't know what I would do here. I wish there was more to it. The headline's great, but then it just kind of fizzles after that. A message in a bottle was found in a Virginia river after 44 years. So a father and son were walking down, the York River in Virginia, found a message in the bottle that had been launched by a young boy 44 years earlier. Basically, when they came up to the bottle, they opened it. What was inside? It said,
Help.
Help. No, basically it was, let me see, find the note here. Okay, the bottle contained a note that appeared to have written by a child. The note included a phone number and instructed the finder to ask for Don Kendrick. That was it. A phone number, of course, they did. Phone number turned out to be a dead end. They found out some other connections, though, put it on Facebook. They ended up finding Don Kendrick. Really wasn't much more than that, but a cool story. Like, if you ever put a message in a bottle, or a time capsule thing, I know people have done that. What would you put in a time capsule?
What would I put in a time capsule?
Like right now, present day, so that you hope someone in 2,180 finds.
How about a gallon of gasoline for under $5, huh?
Like a list of prices now for them then? I wonder if there's something now that will be obsolete then. And besides us, besides people. Typewriter? What is this?
That's
What is this? What do you do with this thing?
Do you know who uses a typewriter?
Who?
Like Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah, legit does,
and
right?
he collects them.
Yeah, but I think he has whatever newer versions that are better, but he likes typewriters, huh? Wait, were you ever at the station when we had a typewriter?
Waltz typewriter?
Yeah, but there more around the station.
Oh no.
Just Waltz? Yeah. No, there's a time where we had that. Quite a few. That's weird.
Wait, for what?
To type. We had computers too, but there was just a few more, like you could write a quick script or something. Yeah. Not so quick. We had them. It might have been a long time ago now, but we had them. Not buying that?
That's insanity.
Yeah. Let's see. On this date, where did I have this? A few years ago.
Dave Deuce Mason was born.
Oh, you went? Oh, yeah. I wrote some birthdays down for you, Chris.
Oh,
let's see how you do.
Okay.
Just you. There's no competition. Happy birthday today to Kevin Hart. How old is Kevin Hart turning today? And you guys can play at home as well.
I'm going to guess 42.
Kevin Hart turns 43 today.
Oh,
good job.
I was thinking yesterday. Yesterday he was 42.
Yes, exactly. You were way off. Happy birthday today.
Should we record this and send this to Mo to see how she would do?
No, she would do terribly. Happy birthday today to 50 Cent.
50 Cent. 50 is
he 50?
46.
He was yesterday. 47. I can't believe how far you are off on all these. Happy birthday today to Sylvester Stallone. How old is Sylvester Stallone turning today?
71.
76.
Oh,
for Sylvester
way off.
Stallone. Happy birthday to former President George W. Bush. What is he turning today, Chris?
69.
He is 75 today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Been out of the limelight, huh?
Happy birthday today to Zion Williamson. What's the young fella turning today?
23.
Zion is turning 21.
Oof.
He's only 21?
Oof.
Is that right? Fact checkers, is he 21?
What's his heart living in New Orleans, though? He's got to have the heart of a 62-year-old.
Wow. Why? A lot of beignets and seafood, crab boils.
Café du Monde.
Café du Monde. Happy birthday today to former Oriole, former Dodger, current Padres infielder Manny Machado. What is
I saw this, so it's hitting 30.
Okay. Happy birthday today. I can't even read my writing. Oh, to Dalai Lama.
The Dalai Lama?
The Dalai Lama.
83.
Oh!
Got it?
Got it. And happy birthday today, our last of our celebrity birthdays, to Pau Gasol. How old is Pau Gasol today?
He is 41.
He is 41.
Is he?
Yes.
Wow, really
Good
close
job.
it out strong.
You did. You finished well.
It's fantastic that Deuce and the Dalai Lama share a birthday.
Same guy. I've never seen them in the same spot. I have never, ever seen them in the same spot. All right, so there's a look at some of the things going on today in the world of sports and in news as well. Happy birthday to all of them. Happy birthday to Deuce as well. It is his birthday today. Carmichael Dave will be back with us tomorrow. Lots more to get to. We'll have more thoughts. Dave's first thoughts, too, on the Kings moves that have happened here. We shared a lot of them earlier in the show. Really excited, intrigued by how they look, how they look, meaning Keegan Murray so far in the California Classic games. But really, their potential going forward and still have the ability to make more moves if Monty McNair would like to. I still think he can go into camp with this roster. Probably a few tweaks need to happen. Still need to clearly identify a defensive strategy and game plan that they stick to, that they buy into, and get the most out of, right? We've said this for a while that I don't know how many times people have said, well, Fox has the ability to be a great defender. Well, he needs to do it then. He needs to be a good defender. I don't even need great. We want it to be great, but it needs to be good. If that happens and you've got some other issues defensively, you get your leaders and your kind of the people that others follow, they need to be great. And if Mike Brown can get that out of this team, that would be awesome. So we'll be watching them defensively as they get better. The California Classic is done. Next up, it's the Vegas Summer League. And next week, the show will be out there with shows Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll have all sorts of coverage on Sacktown Sports 1140, and that coverage is brought to you by Power Business Technology. All of our Summer League coverage is brought to you by them. Find them online at powercopiers.com.
First step, Summer League Championship.
Yeah.
Next step, Sacramento Kings World Champions. You feel me?
And if you guys got to get that. That is just, that's great recall right there.
We sold it perfectly.
Perfectly.
If you're not laughing, you're not smart.
You're the problem. You out there are the problem, because that was gold. And you're welcome. Update on the quarterfinals. Nadal did win the second set, so they're on to the third, tied at 1 apiece. Taylor Fritz, Rafael Nadal. All right, that's it for us. Jim Rome is coming up next, though he's on vacation. I don't know who's in for Rome today.
Carmichael Dave, actually.
Oh, really? Interesting. Take a listen to that. Capitals and Romney will be coming up at 3. A's baseball later tonight. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow. Jay Mars, as we said, off all week. Carmichael Dave's back with me tomorrow. Thanks as well to Christopher Ladd for all his work. And all of you listening out there today, we really do appreciate you. Join us tomorrow again at 6 and check out the afternoon show again. Cattles and Rami coming up at 3, all right here on Sacktown Sports 1140. See you.